TikTok time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. We got a double feature today, a double feature. Double feature. Why? These guys are just destroying Islam so rapidly that if you want to keep up, you sometimes have to do multiple live streams during a day because you know they're going to do something stupid later during the day, and then you're going to have to cover that the next day and stuff. So anyway, that's the awkward position that we find ourselves in. Not the awkward position Muhammad found himself in on the night of Al Zut. But anyway. We've got something. Oh, by the way, yeah, Than's supposed to be on here. He doesn't normally use Ecamm, and I know what he's talking about because it's happened once or twice before where people are clicking on the Ecamm link and it's not giving them access to their camera and stuff like that. So they have to troubleshoot it and stuff like that. Anyway, he said we can go ahead and start, and he'll figure it out, and then he'll jump in. So in theory, Than's going to be here, but we can't actually tell because he has a silly name. And therefore probably can't figure lots of things out. So anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People are pointing out that it's Cinco de Mayo, and we are with David Segarra. So I'm celebrating Cinco de Mayo with David Segarra. So hola to all of our Latinos.
Where's my sombrero, man?
So
can't find any of my cool. Can't find any of my cool stuff.
Ecamm stopping the party. Than's supposed to be here. We got a big Cinco de Mayo celebration, and Ecamm is holding it up. But we got ourselves here and everyone else. So,
and we got a good show, guys. We got a good show. This is just kind of the launching of it, but we've got something else. We've got the Quranic dilemma or the Quran dilemma. We might take a poll, see whether people prefer Quran dilemma or Quranic dilemma. Keep in mind, guys, this is distinct from the Islamic dilemma, completely different argument. No connection to the Islamic dilemma. It's a completely different argument. This argument is, it just destroys what your average Muslim believes. Your average Muslim believes that he has the one Quran that was revealed to Muhammad. There was one Quran, just one Quran revealed to Muhammad, and it's been preserved till now, a few years back, and lots of Muslims still believe it because it hasn't filtered down to them. But 5-6 years ago, it was just standard to say one Quran perfectly preserved from the time of Muhammad down to the present. Not one letter of difference between any two Qurans on the planet. It was a total like idiotic nonsense. But people didn't know, and so people weren't able to
I actually have that compilation video. I have that compilation video where it's like, I think Daughter of Christ originally put it together for DCCI channel, and it was like all of the Dawa guys over the years, word for word, letter for letter, preservation, and I have it on one of my slides here. I don't know if it will play, but we can try it if you want. We can see if the sound works.
We can see
if the sound works.
Only one way to find out.
Let's see. The only one way to find out, right? So let's go.
We like just randomly trying stuff in the middle of the beginning of a live stream in case it blows up in our face. That's how we roll, guys.
That's what we do.
That's how we roll.
Especially on Cinco de Mayo.
Danger is our middle names.
Yes.
Right, you want me to put that up?
A little crazy. Yeah, let's try it. And if the sound works, then awesome. But if not, my apologies.
All right, we'll find out right now. Hey, there's no sound, man.
Oh, okay. I guess. Wait, hold on. Let me see if I can fix it.
Might be something you need to click to share a sound or something. Was the sound working on your end?
Yeah. Let's see if we can hear this now.
Is absolutely word by word preserved.
Yep.
I repeat.
Okay. All right. Let me see if I can start it over so we can hear it from the beginning. First of all, we have a couple quotes here for written form. I saw these in a debate before with a guy called Bernie Power, and that's why I said credit to him. But these are quotes that he had like in his debate, so he kind of like wrote them out here, and I just took screenshots.
Hey, do you have the quote from Yasser Qadi's dad?
I was looking for that one because I was looking for that one.
Yeah, that's what's amazing, right? Like Yasser Qadi, who reluctantly admitted that the standard narrative has holes in it. His dad was one of the guys that spread the myth of perfect preservation. And he had this book and he specifically said it. He said, Between any two Qurans in history, there is not one word of difference, not one letter of difference, not one dot of difference between any two Qurans in all of history. And it was just totally made up. But I've always thought it was interesting that, like, his son is the one who who destroyed it. Like, his dad starts it, his dad starts the lie, and then his son reluctantly destroys it.
Yeah, exactly. So this is like kind of written form of what we're about to listen to in video. Various Muslim scholars and Muslim publications that say that there's only one Quran, hasn't been altered, edited, tampered with since it was revealed. All Muslims know only one Quran, perfectly preserved in its original words since the Prophet's death when revelation ended. So that's one. We have another one here. Same throughout the world. To this day, one can travel to any part of the world and can pick up a copy of the Quran and find it is the same throughout the world. I don't know how they were getting away with this stuff back then, but I mean, this is popular up until, I mean, like you said, it's still like the common Muslim understanding, but at least on like the kind of like the Dawah side, they kind of gave up on it because they know it's untenable. And we're going to see Mohammed Hijab, actually one of those people who used to say word for word, and he's like, well, what do you mean word for word, letter for letter? The Quran was revealed with letters. It wasn't revealed with vowels, so signs and stuff like that. So he was one of those people. Not even one dot. All right, let's go to the video here. So let's see if this works. So hopefully the sound works here. Let's see.
The Muslim claim has been for the last 14 centuries that the Quran is absolutely word by word preserved. I repeat, our claim about the Quran, and we stand by that claim to this day.
We stand by that lie.
2020, we stand by that claim that in the light of evidence and otherwise, the Quran is preserved word by word, and it can be traced back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, word by word.
And frankly, the Quran has been preserved, we believe, since the time of the Prophet till now, word for word, letter for letter, haraka or vowel sign for vowel sign.
There is not a book on the planet Earth in human history that has been preserved like this, in its reading, in its articulation, in its pronunciation, in its preservation. There is not a book on the planet Earth which has been preserved like the Quran.
Lie.
On planet Earth or elsewhere.
Or elsewhere.
No doubt whatsoever that the Quran has been preserved to the letter, to the dot, and to the sound.
Letter.
When we talk about this,
it is amazing. The Muslim Ummah has its fair share of strange ideologies, different sects, different beliefs, different groups. But guess what? All of these groups, no matter what their sect and understanding of Islam is, their Quran is exactly the same.
Oh, wow.
Their Quran is exactly the same. And no group of Muslims around the world believes in another book they call the Quran that is not our book. The Quran shall remain uncorrupted, untouched, and unchallenged until the day of judgment. No one shall be able to tamper with the Quran. No one shall be able to bring a false copy of the Quran, and the Muslims will be fooled and say it is a false copy. And therefore, to this day, the Ummah has never disagreed about its holy book. O Muslims, thank Allah for this blessing. And the Quran, there's only one Quran. There are no various versions or whatnot. It's one standard copy of the Quran across the Muslim world. And really, there's not been any variant versions of the Quran. The Quran is the Quran for all sects and schisms and groups of Islam. And we also, all Muslims take pride in the fact there is but one Quran. There's no variants of the Quran.
If it were the case that right now, at this moment, every single mushaf, meaning book or parchment wherein the Quran was inscribed, was to disappear right now, overnight, in every single Muslim community, you will have exactly the same book, with exactly the same letters, with exactly the same vowelings, emerge and be transcribed and be recited out loud amongst every single Muslim community worldwide.
Lie.
That's special.
So harsh transmission throughout the world. has remained preserved to the dots and letters and sounds and vowels.
As we all know, the Quran has been preserved word for word.
Today's Musaf, it is exactly the same, word to word, letter to letter.
This book, the Quran, is Kalamullah, غير مخلوق. It is the words of Allah, not a part of the makhluk. It was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ and preserved word by word, letter by letter, harf by harf. Even the pronunciation is preserved.
The Quran that we read is exactly the one that was given to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Word for word, letter by letter, surah by surah, the whole Quran. Surah 15, ayah number 9. Allah says that it is Allah who has revealed this zikr, this message, the Quran. He will protect it. No change, it retains its purity.
All right, that's the end of it there.
All right, 1 second. We got Than. Finally got Than in. We'll see if he can figure out his technology.
All right.
We'll see if he's.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Do I sound bad?
No, you sound fine.
Okay,
I mean,
cool.
apart from sounding
for
like
some
a nerd,
reason,
for some reason,
my PC doesn't like Ecamm Live, so I had to do it for my laptop.
Well, get a PC made after 2010, and maybe it'll work better.
I'll let that slide.
Yeah. So everyone, we've got. Jai showed you some clips. That was some classic Dawa clips bragging about one Quran. It was a total lie, guys. It was a total lie. They were only able to spread that lie because the favored version of the Ottoman Empire was the Hafs version of the Quran. And so most Muslims that were within the Ottoman Empire were primarily familiar with that, and that allowed them to start lying to the rest of the world and use this for dawah. There's only one Quran, perfectly preserved, down to the letter, from the time of Muhammad, not one letter difference between any two Qurans in the world, and it was a complete, utter, total lie. There are dozens of different Quran versions, and they offer different rulings, different teachings, even contradict each other sometimes. So what they argue is that the official ones all go back to Muhammad, even though there are even contradictions between the official ones. They say these all go back to Muhammad, and that he revealed them. Allah revealed them in all these different ways. So Allah revealed the contradiction, and just instead of it, I mean, this is what's absolutely insane to me. It reminds me of just on the live stream yesterday, where IP was playing a clip by Khalid Yassin, who was asked about Muhammad and Aisha, and he just starts going, but Muhammad was ordered by Allah to do this. He didn't do anything without Allah ordering him. So if Allah ordered him to do it, how can you have a problem with it? How can you have a problem? And it's like, you've got a pervert, and instead of just saying this guy's a pervert, you blame God for him being a pervert, and then you're pinning it on God. But that's kind of like what's going on here. It's very easy we wouldn't think it's a problem for a Muslim scribe at some point, to make a mistake and get a word wrong and change the meaning of the verse. You'd say, okay, that's what textual criticism is for. But they can't acknowledge any sort of human error because Allah is supposedly protecting the Quran, and yet they'll just throw all these differences, even contradictions, onto Allah. Allah revealed it in these contradictory ways. Which it's amazing. You don't want to acknowledge that a human being can make an error, so you're saying Allah contradicts himself in his book. Really, really, really strange stuff. Anyway, guys, we've been exposing that stuff for a while, but it's getting worse because now people are bringing this stuff up to Muslims, and someone brought up the issue of the different Qurans to Mohammed Hijab, and Mohammed Hijab's response leads to what we're calling the Quranic dilemma. And just in a nutshell, we'll unpack it as we go along. But you got to make a decision, Muslims. You got to make a decision. Either you only have part of the Quran that existed when Muhammad died. So Muhammad delivers the Quran over 23 years or so to his followers, and then they have the Quran and so on when he died. But guess what? You don't have all of that right now. And if you're going, no, we do. Just shut up. Just shut up and listen for once in your life, right? You don't have it. Not according to even Mohammed Hijab, you don't have it. Muslim scholars, you don't have it. You do not have all of what was revealed to Muhammad, right? So we're about to find out. You can either say you have part of the Quran, or there are many different Qurans. You have to say one of them. You can't say you have the one. You can't say there's only one Quran and you have the one Quran that was revealed to Muhammad. You either have parts of the Quran, you don't have the complete Quran, or you have many different Qurans. You have to pick one. You can't say one Quran and it's the one that was revealed to Muhammad. You can't say it anymore. And Hijab just handed us everything we need to prove this conclusively. So we're going to do a live stream on this and go through we're going to go through Hijab admitting this. We're going to show how it leads to a dilemma. And later on, I'll make a shorter standalone video to spread this around. But these guys are ending up with all kinds of dilemmas here. I can tell you want to say something, Jai. What's up?
Yeah, I got excited when I heard the the confusion that Muslims have when they find about different Qurans, because there are so many like stories that I've heard that go along with that. I was saying the other day, I did a live stream reviewing this debate that we're going to be going over today, Mohammed Hijab versus John bought by blood 316. And one of the things that was brought up was that in certain testimonies that Daughter of Christ and I have heard from the Arab world, where, like, for example, there's like one woman that from Morocco where they have a particular version of the Quran that differs from the larger Muslim world. And when she started listening to the radio at the time, and she was listening to like the Quran being recited, it was in that different version, like the mainstream version that she wasn't used to. So for her, that was like the first thing that got her thinking. She's like, wait a minute, that's not how I learned the Quran. That's not the Quran that I know. And just on that like average lay level. So that was like the kind of like the groundwork for her for like how she started doubting Islam, was just like finding out that there's different Qurans, because that's not what Muslims are taught. And it's to the point where countries like Morocco will actually ban the reading and recitation of the Hafs Quran inside of their mosques, like the official government facilities. And same thing in Saudi Arabia, like for the Ramadan, like the Taraweeh prayers, they have it so you only recite the Warsh version in Saudi Arabia, because if you do other versions, I mean, I saw like a ruling on that. I don't know if that's, I know they have like a different Grand Mufti now, so maybe the legal ruling has changed. But actually, the particular current ruler, like the Grand Mufti, he's the one who actually said this, that if you are to read the Quran in a different version or a different reading that people are not used to, you're going to be responsible for causing confusion. And that's not allowed. So people ask the question, they're like, if I'm a reciter of the Quran and I learned it in a different way, but I'm going to a city or I'm going to a country where they learn the Quran in a different way, am I allowed to recite the Quran in the way that I learned it? And he says, you're going to cause confusion. And there's another anecdote that I've heard about this as well. I think Shali Nasser was the one who said it, and he was talking about like there was like there's like this like kind of like a southern dialect of Lebanese Arabic, where you could say like it's like very distinct, where how like they enunciate their words. And so there was a particular mosque where the imam was reciting in the Quran in a way where it sounded like he was like adopting this particular like, not so eloquent, like southern kind of dialect, so to speak, that elongates certain letters and vowels and changes the vowels up a little bit. So people started like making fun of him, like, this is not the Quran, and they're like, saying this, they're getting upset with him, they're big outcry about it. Well, it turns out there is a particular reading of the Quran that recites it in that kind of like southern dialect style, where it's like, the vowels change and the length of the vowels change. So it sounds like this particular, accent or dialect, but it actually is, but it's just like an older style of reciting, it's a way of reciting the Quran. So people are just not familiar with it. And this is the same problem in the Ottoman Empire. They had the jurists making rulings and saying, look, the general person is so confused when they find out that there's different readings of the Quran, there's different Qurans, you're going to hear like different versions being read, different from the one that you were taught. And you would think, why don't they just tell people that there's different versions of the Quran? Like that would seem to solve a lot of problems. It seems to solve a lot of doubt.
And at least you'd be honest.
Yeah, but they don't. Like that's never the solution that pops into their mind. Instead, they like
telling the truth. Telling the truth is never the option. Never.
Right. Yeah.
Never.
Exactly.
Never tell the truth. You always have to choose which lie is going to help you most. But yet, guys, here's the big picture situation. Said this part many times before, but if you go back to you go all the way back to the 1960s and so on, right? Where Islam started spreading in the United States and like the African American community because of popular converts like Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X and so on. So they started telling people about Islam, and they just complete lies, right? Islam is the religion where everyone is equal and it frees all the slaves, unlike Christianity and stuff. It was total nonsense. But guess what? Did anyone have Sahih al-Bukhari to read about Muhammad's black slaves and so on? No. Did they have Sahih Muslim? No. Did they have Sunan Abu Dawud? No. These hadn't even been translated yet. This allowed the Muslim preacher to walk into an area and say absolutely anything he wanted that would convince people to convert to Islam. It didn't have to have any connection to reality at all. He could say whatever he wanted. No one was in a position to correct what the person was saying. So they started lying. Hey, what do you like? Oh, that's what you like? Okay, Islam is the fountain of that thing that you like. They would just make up things about how great Islam is. And this continued for decades until, you believe in women's rights? Oh, Muhammad was the greatest feminist who ever lived. Who was in a position to correct that? No one. They didn't know. They didn't know what's in the Hadith. They didn't know what's in the Quran, let alone what's in the Hadith. You guys love science in the West. Did you know that the Quran is a scientific miracle and it said all these things that you believe in the 7th century? How's this possible? And people converted based on that and so on. And then they're going like perfect preservation. They're using this as an argument. And they built up like modern Islam as far as why you should believe in it and take it seriously. They built it up on nothing but lies. Pillars, a foundation of nothing but lies, pillars of lies. And then all of a sudden, we get everything we need to go in and just destroy all those pillars, the pillars of lies that they've been telling. That's what we're in the middle of it right now. All these lies about the scientific miracles and the perfect preservation and Muhammad being a champion of women's rights, we're just wrecking those foundations, and they're in panic mode. They're scrambling because that's all they had to go on was lies. And now the lies are being exposed and they're freaking out. And if you want to see a meltdown, just watch Mohammed Hijab because he is in full meltdown mode. In fact, the debate that we're about to watch, he had that taken down. He had that taken down when John posted it. So,
they copyright striked him.
Yep, and I don't even know. Is this even up at this point? I don't even know. Is it on Hijab's channel?
Hijab is not going to show this, dude.
Nope.
So you got to get it here, ladies and gentlemen, because Hijab copyright strikes anyone who posts it, and he took it down. And so why? Because he acknowledges that whatever version of the Quran you have, Hafs, if you have the Hafs Quran, so if you have any Quran you pick, this is only part of the Quran. It's only part of it.
Yeah.
It's only part, and I don't mean, because lots of Muslims will say, of course, there were verses revealed to Muhammad and then they were abrogated later. And so some of those were actually taken out of the Quran. So we've only got part of what was revealed. No. We're talking at Muhammad's death. What was the Quran according to Muslims? Do you still have that, what there was when he died? No, you don't. And it's not disputable. It's not in question. If you're going, of course we do. Okay, we know you heard that your entire life. That's what we're pointing out. It is a lie, according to your own scholars. It's nonsense, which means that the Quran was changed, altered, tampered with post-Muhammad by other human beings. And you're going to tell us about this amazing preservation? Not going to work anymore, guys. Not going to work. Than.
Yes, sir.
You actually made a really good video. I want to do a follow-up because you kind of address like one of the big issues. I want to put it in the dilemma form and stuff like that. But before we jump into this, I want to give people like the gist of what you were pointing out.
Yeah, in the video specifically, the basic idea is just if you take the logic that Muslims use for the logical problem of the Trinity and you extend it to the idea that Muslims believe in one Quran and there's 7 modes, right? The responsible or rational solution might be, go the relative identity route or go some other route that Trinitarians use, like what I do. But since Muslims don't want to lose any ground there, they double down, and Mohammed Hijab takes something called a mereological approach. So mereology
don't use
is
a
just going to be the study of...
good. I was going to tell you to explain. That's good.
Yeah, mereology in philosophy is just a fancy word for like the study of the relationship between parts and wholes, right?
Yeah. See, guys,
Like,
we say
a part of the
mereology or mereological because we don't like saying parts and wholes, because if we do, then the double goes, oh, holes. I'm talking about holes. Yes. Tell us more about these holes. So we say mereological. But go ahead, Tan.
Yes. So Mohammed Hijab takes a mereological approach. So basically he's saying there is one Quran, and the 7 hafs, or the 7 modes, are parts of the one Quran. And then that's okay, I guess, right? Like I think there's going to be problems there that it interacts with Tawheed, and I think it can even interact with Shirk. We can talk about that if you want to. But for the purposes of the video that I made and John's argument, basically what ends up happening is once you look into the Uthman problem and you look at the scholar that Hijab points to, Ibn al-Jazari, we end up coming to the conclusion that we don't have the full Quran now. We don't have a perfectly preserved Quran because there's one Quran and we have 6 modes that are gone, burned up by Uthman, and we only have this one part of the Quran, 1/7 of the Quran today. So that's going to be the conclusion.
And yeah, so according to Hijab, that's why this is taken down, guys. That's why this is taken down. That's why you have to download this stuff really quick, like when it goes up, because Hijab's going to take it down. Why? Because other Muslims are going to bombard him with complaints about how he's destroying their faith and so on. So he has to keep taking this stuff down. Hasn't seemed to understand now. Maybe you shouldn't be going live if you're if you're destroying people's confidence in Islam, but he keeps doing it. He keeps doing it because he's got $1 million bill he has to pay to fund the amazing work of Douglas Murray for a long time. All right, so guys, we're going to check out the debate where Hijab tries to respond to the logical problem of, what do you call it? The logical problem of the Quran or something like that?
I think that's what John calls it, yeah.
Yeah, so the logical problem of the Quran, he's going to respond to that and try to answer this by saying, but a Quran that we have right now is only part of the Quran. So we only have a partial Quran. And if you can go that route, or you can go the other route and just say there are many Qurans, many different versions of the Quran. So fun times, Dawah lies are unraveling at an unprecedented rate, and we're going to make sure it keeps accelerating. All right, let's take these first super chats, and then we'll jump into the video. And then we'll see what Mohammed Hijab is trying to cover up with his copyright strikes. Let's see. Let's put this down here. Taco Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo. David Sagara, all at once. Oh, yeah, it's Tuesday. I should have brought tacos, man. I wasn't even thinking about Cinco de Mayo. It's the best holiday for us Mexicans. And I totally forgot. I should have been munching on tacos right now.
Yeah, man.
Do you collaborate with Bob from Speaker's Corner? Not regularly, but yeah, we've had Bob on. A bunch of times. Does a lot of awesome work out there. KJV Quran coming soon. El Dilema Quranico me gusta.
Nice.
Mo had the strength of 30-6 men. Very rude. When you bring up the Jew, hey, it's Nordine. As soon as I saw you, Jew,
yeah, I got a super chat from him. I got a super chat from him yesterday too, and I was like, oh, Nordine's back.
But let's see. When you bring up the Yajuj and Majuj issue and similar issues to a Muslim and he can't see it, you know you have paranormal activity on footage. Nordine, this is an area where I'm going to have to agree with you, but we need to do. We're going to perform the experiment. I'm going to put the information out there about where the story in Surah 18 comes from. We're going to give indisputable proof that this is Muhammad copying the Syriac legend of Alexander, and all the way down until what the Yajuj and Majuj are according to Muslim sources, and where they are, and where all these billions of beings are behind a wall and stuff. When we put all the problems in front of their face, If they say, nope, it's not a problem, it must be Cyrus and blah, blah, blah. Okay, then it seems you seem to have a spiritual problem. But yeah, we're gonna get to that. Green eggs and ham has been perfectly preserved. All ham to Allah. That's true. And guess what? You could destroy every copy of green eggs and ham in the world, and people could put it back together because people memorized it when they were little kids. I guess this means it's the perfect word of Allah. Stupid argument, right? That's what you sound like to us, everyone. That's what you sound like when you use this stupid argument. Hey, David Segarra, for Cinco de Mayo, can we get your enchilada recipe? Enchilada. Classic. It's 2:48 a.m. here in India. Allah is lying at the door. He's ready. D-Wood, do the hateful comments ever get to you? Am thinking of starting an apologetics channel, but sometimes fear they'll eventually get to me. Any advice? Yeah, look at it as a bright side. If you're arguing, if you're giving arguments and evidence and so on, and they're responding with threats and violence, it means it's getting to them and they can't answer, right? When they're like, we'll kill you. I'm like, oh, you just acknowledge, one, this is really bothering you. And two, you don't think you can answer it. If you thought you can answer it, you just answer it. Instead, you're going threats, you're going doxing, going after people's wives. So look at it on the positive sense. They're in panic mode. And so they're lashing out. And so why would you be upset about that?
Yeah, this is a good example right now with Mohammed Hijab, Avery, Mohammed Hijab, and even John as well. He's obviously going after Avery on a unprecedented level in terms of dawah guys. And you have to think, why is that? It's because of the discussion that they had. What is he trying to hide? Why is he copyright striking? Why did he copyright strike John? What doesn't he want you to see? They're attacking because there's something there that they don't want people to see. So actually, it could be like, sometimes when I see that happening, it actually gives me like more confidence and more like, yeah, this is actually okay. The the demons are angry, so we're doing the right thing. We're doing the right thing. We're poking we're making the right arguments. We're saying the right things. God is working, and the devil's getting angry. And of course, that doesn't mean that if like you're like a jerk or something, and people are like attacking you, that like, oh, God's on my side or something. It doesn't mean that, but you have to obviously weigh everything in context and properly biblically. But if you're assuming everything's good on your end and right before God, and you're getting all these attacks, then that's how I would take it, as like the devil's just coming after you.
I literally just had that conversation with a friend today because I went onto a TikTok stream of his to help him argue against the Muslim. And then basically the three Dawa guys that I was arguing against, it started off tame, and then they all just started manifesting and calling me gay. And then my friend was like, how are you dealing with that? And I was like, well, if you track the conversation, that all happened when they realized that they were losing the debate. So it doesn't bother me. Because then I just go, well, you're losing to a gay guy.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. And guys, so Than started dealing with Islam pretty darn recently, and they already like declared the slimy war on him, right? Not responding to his stuff, but we went through this already, but they took and keep in mind this is like the Libiano crew, so we're going to be checking out some stuff from Libiano later tonight at 8 p.m. That'll be with IP and Anthony Rogers, but
he actually joined this debate, by the way, with John as well. Libiano joined it. Libiano joined this debate with John. Joined. Yes. Oh yeah. No, he literally just joined. He didn't add to the conversation at all. But I'm saying they're all associated. It's all connected.
Yeah. So guys, this is how desperate they get real quick. They went and found Than's Discord, his bodybuilding Discord, and they took a picture of Than with his wife. And they photoshopped his wife out of it, and they said, "You see, Than is gay. He's posting this picture to guys and boys and stuff like this on." Dude,
my wife was low-key offended, by the way, David, because when they photoshopped her out, the hands were still on my butt in the picture, and there are Muslims being like, "Look at those hands. It's obviously a man." And my wife's like, "Wait, why are you saying this?"
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's kind of a compliment when they're just like, oh, here's a new guy. Let's go after him like this. That means they're kind of worried about you, right? And
Yeah.
I'm guessing it would be for you come out with the Bayesian Islamic dilemma and stuff like that, and they're just like, oh, not a philosophy guy wrecking our religion. We need to. They try it, guys, and what they want is for you to understand that they are extremely dirty, and they're going to get really dirty with you and lie about you and call you all sorts of things, and they're hoping you'll be like, oh, I don't want to deal with this. I'll go deal with something else.
By the way, that's I was actually always wanted to do a review of this with you guys before, actually, but I'm just remembering right now. But Mohammed Hijab actually has debate classes where he's going through debate strategy. There's a live Muslim audience. He's in a room with Muslims. He talks about his debate style and his strategy. He talks about ad hominems. He said, yeah, technically it's a logical fallacy, but it is more. It's got a rhetorical. The rhetorical effect outweighs the logical invalidity of it or whatever. So he said that that's what you have to do. If you have something to put on them, bring it up. And you can see this in all of his discussions. He's talking to Alan Dershowitz. All of a sudden, he calls him all sorts of things that Alan Dershowitz said he's going to sue him for defamation and stuff like that. It's slander.
And he'll do the same thing. He'll go after people's daughters and stuff like that.
Yeah, everybody who he debates, he will do that, and he teaches Muslims to do that. That's why you have people like Libiano coming up in his footsteps. That's why he's promoting him, because he's doing exactly what he teaches them to do. You guys can't compete on the arguments. You can't compete on the truth. You guys don't have the truth. But what you can do is, because Christians are not going to stoop this low, you can come at them personally and attack them personally and try to make them look bad personally, and hopefully just pray that has more rhetorical effect than their arguments have. And that's literally what he teaches Muslims.
Yeah, and after you've been doing it for a while, you can actually use their reactions to tell you what really bothers them, right? Like historically, because back when I started doing this, there weren't a lot of people doing it and stuff like this. But I'd toss out a video, get a certain reaction, toss out another video, They toss out a video and they flip out and lose their minds and start saying they'll kill you over it. And to me, that's like, oh, I did not know that was such a sore spot with you guys, but thank you for informing me. Now I know what my next video is going to be. It's going to be a follow-up and a response to this, because it's really, really, really bothering you guys. So, yeah, cool times. Hey, check this out. Apologetics Roadshow. Most Mexicans don't celebrate 5th de Mayo unless they live in Puebla or are from Puebla or are also American or living in the U.S. Well, what am I? I'm American living in the U.S., right?
There you go.
Okay, there's your answer. All right, a couple more here. Hijab is a joke. Haven't seen a Muslim crash out this hard since 2001. This is like total meltdown. Does Islam guarantee 100% to go to heaven? No.
Actually, what it does guarantee you is that you're going to go to hell. That's what it does guarantee you. Actually, it really says that. Chapter 19,
there is none.
Verse 70, 71, 72, the whole context there. It says, it literally promises that every single Muslim will go to hell, and then it says that Allah will take them out if they're righteous. So the only guarantee in Islam, according to Islam, is that you're going to be going to hell, and there's no guarantee that you're going to come out. So there you go. That's the religion of Islam for you.
Yep, and even Muhammad was told to say, I don't know what Allah will do with me. It was in the context of salvation. I don't know what Allah is going to do with me. Muhammad did guarantee paradise to certain individuals during his life, but even they couldn't have complete confidence because they knew they were dealing with a God who's a deceiver. So Abu Bakr, who's one of the people that Muhammad guaranteed would be in paradise, Abu Bakr said, if I had one foot in paradise, I would still fear Allah's deception. Meaning, I think, hey, I'm walking there. Oh, I see my virgins over there. I got one foot in there. And he's like, psych, you're going to hell. And that makes sense. That made sense that Allah might do something like that towards him. So, yeah, no assurance of salvation there.
And by the way, there's also, on that note, there's also like a fatalism taught in Islam as well, to where there's a hadith that says that someone can be living a perfectly righteous life up until the time of their death, and then they'll be living their life as someone of paradise, but then all of a sudden they're going to do the deeds of the people in hellfire, and they're going to be sent to hell. Why? Because Allah, before they were born, before they could do anything, he chose for them to go to heaven or hell, no matter what they did, no matter what their choices were. There's no free will. It's Allah choosing it. So you can live your whole life, all these good deeds, but if Allah chose for you to go to hell, no matter how good you are, and it's because Islam's work-based, so no matter how good you are, it doesn't matter because Allah is going to predestine you to hell anyway. So there's no guarantee in that way.
1 second real quick. Hey, what is this? David, come to Birmingham and debate. I'm not allowed in the entire country, let alone in Birmingham.
Maybe they mean Alabama.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can do that in Alabama. But Hazem here says, David, you give me a Quranic scientific inaccuracy. So Hazem's a Muslim, has been in the chat for a few days. Pretty easy. Surah 18, verse 86 says that Alexander the Great traveled so far west, he found the place where the sun sets and there are people living there, and then he finds a place where the sun rises and so on. Guess what? That's wrong. The multiple Quran passages talk about stars being missiles that Allah uses to shoot demons who try to sneak into paradise and hear his plan. So when you see a shooting star, it's because Allah took a star and hurled it at a demon who was trying to listen to his plans. Guess what? Shooting stars that you see in the sky, they're not stars. They're not stars. So all of that is total nonsense. Semen is formed between the backbone and ribs. It's plenty of that weird stuff. But if you like to actually call in and have a conversation and go through these at some point, we can totally do that. We have they say fan instead of fan. Fan is looking very straight today. This must be throwing off all the Dawa secret admirers off. Oh, hi, Senor Segara.
Do I need to give the Dawa guy some ammo by putting on a wig or something now?
Yeah, they're like, hey, this is not what we expected. We thought he would be in little tiny shorts. The Muslims can't even perfectly preserve short pics of Fan.
Oh, wow.
It's just about the diarrhea marks. Are the Quran differences like Bible or worse?
Worse.
Yeah.
So one of the things that comes up in this debate is Mohammed Hijab talks about I guess you're talking about differences. I don't know. It depends even what you mean by that, because Mohammed Hijab brings up like different canons. For example, you have like the Protestant canon, you have different Orthodox canons, you have Catholic canon. And so on that level, you do have different canons of, like, you have Ibn Masud, who has 111 chapters. You have the standard Quran of like Uthman, Zayd, where it's 114. And then you have Ubay and others who had 116 chapters. So you do have different, let's say, canons of the Quran, as it were. And then you also have, if you want to talk about textual variants as well, you do have textual variants as well. And we have a clip from Daniel Wallace saying that less than 1% of textual variants are both meaningful and viable. And then you have a Muslim scholar saying that 30% of the differences amongst the canonical Qurans, not including the non-canonical, which would increase that number significantly, but just among the canonical readings, which are accepted readings, which only basically means in Islam you're allowed to say these in your prayers. Like, that's what canonical really means. Like, you're allowed to pray with these. That there's 30% differences in meaning and between them. Now, if you want to like weigh levels of significance, we have found, and we've done shows where we showed like contradictions between the variant readings in the Quran, where in the Bible you don't have that, where there's like one variant says something that contradicts something else. It's usually something like, did Jesus have, mercy on the lepers, or was he angry at the lepers? But there's no contradiction there. There's no contradiction. But if you say, Lot was either committed to take his wife with them, or he wasn't committed to take his wife with him, that's a contradiction. For the Quran, that's the Quran there.
Aren't there some differences too, where like some verses will say Allah did something, and another verse, and in a different mode would say it's Muhammad who did it?
Oh yeah, you do have that as well. Like the being amazed or surprised one. One of them is saying that Allah was surprised. The other one saying Muhammad was surprised. And some Muslims felt that it was a theological problem to say that Allah is surprised. Some of them felt like that. They wrote about that, and they rejected it for that reason. Other Muslims found ways to kind of reconcile it. But yeah, you do have that as well.
Let's see. Still lying. A few hours ago, Mohammed Hijab went live with another guy saying D Wood. They're over there talking about me, saying D Wood is fearful and timid in the 2018 debate. Psychopath greater than narcissist.
Wow.
They're talking about me, man. I'd say I'm going to watch it later, but I know it's going to be taken down. But fortunately, people are probably recording it. Momo took a meteorological approach with the Al-Zut. parts to whole. He took their parts in his whole. Hey, Jai. Hey, David. Hey, Than. And Than, you are not boring. You feel better now, Than?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, it's Ida. What's up, Ida?
I'd rather crawl a mile across broken glass, wear nothing but socks and a Than-sized T-shirt than ever listen to Hijab speak again. Painful. Well, sadly, you're about to hear Hijab speak, but and it will be painful, but for Islam. Jai, you're the man. Than, epic stuff. Hi, David. Hey, all the Abe. Look at these wingling nerds wearing glasses. Yeah, there are a bunch of nerds here. Marathon Mohammed Hijab. Oh, because he keeps running. That's funny. I get it. But Bouzouki, ha.
Yeah.
What's that, Bouzouki?
Bouzouki? It's a Greek instrument. I played it once on a stream, and Mike hated it, but it's like a Greek guitar/banjo thing.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Bouzouki, ha, hi, Than, and others. Jai, is there a verse or something that says it's wrong to embarrass Islam? Safe travels.
Embarrass Islam? I mean, you have like 6108, I guess. Is that kind of along those lines? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by embarrass Islam. Oh, I think, I think is it should Muslims be embarrassing Islam like this? I get it, yeah. Islam is Calvinist. Who knew? Yeah, pretty right. Adawa Dude said that the Greek word doxa means praise one. It does not, yeah, to prove 61:6. So I told him by that logic, 1 Samuel 15:29 reads, the Muhammad of Israel, so Mo was a Jew. Did not end well, lol. Oh, yeah, you can keep going. And turns out that, Muhammad was Ezekiel's wife using their reasoning. And
yeah, exactly.
He was the woman in that relationship. And last one here, because Allah isn't just a deceiver, but the best of deceivers, I'd argue you even have to expect a deception like this from him. Yep. And that actually...
Valid point.
People understood that. People understood that during the time. We're dealing with a liar. We're dealing with a God. For those of you who aren't familiar with this too much, like Allah in the sources sounds more like Loki, if you're familiar with the Norse mythology or the Marvel movies, someone who's constantly like tricking and deceiving people to get what he wants and so on. He sounds way more like that. And last one here, all hem to Allah, my brothers. That's Muslims say, right? Jai, I need an Arabic word that phonetically sounds like macho. Think parody character.
Macho? There's not like a cha sound.
Yeah, they don't have that sound.
Yeah, there's not like a cha sound.
Something that sounds like macho or something like that.
Oh, maybe like in the Iraqi dialect, they say macho, shako, mako, macho. I don't know. Maybe they would say like some like Bedouin dialects and some Iraqi dialects. They might say something like it means like nothing. But I'll come up with a better one.
He'll come up with one. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into. Anyone want to say anything before we jump into this debate? Now, remember, we had John on, and he said to skip some parts that were just boring and weren't really getting to the point or something like that. So if you guys have seen this, then if you know a part where we should, if it's just going to be boring or like, anyway, it's like a 15-minute video, and there are parts where Hijab is acknowledging that or is declaring that they only have part of the Quran, and so we want to get to those parts. But yeah, I guess if we see them going off on a tangent or something.
I noticed there's this common theme with Mohammed Hijab, similar with his debate with Avery, was that it takes him like forever to get the argument, but he's like constantly talking and arguing up until that point. So I think John has to repeat the argument like 3 times, similar to Avery. I think Avery had to repeat it like 3 or 4 times as well. Okay. And then he finally gets what he's saying. And then he just changes the topic to the Bible afterwards.
If it's just repeating, then we'll probably let him repeat. And that way, if any Hijab fans are watching, we know it's going to take them a while to get the argument.
That works.
But yeah, we'll help them along by letting Hijab figure it out. All right, guys, here we go.
Where's Libiano today? Where's Dean? Well, I saw them up, and I wanted to come up. So I've challenged both of them to debate me. And
where are you based, my friend?
I'm based in Florida, USA.
Okay. Is it daytime there now?
It is.
Why did you challenge them to debate you?
Well, so Libiano and I, we actually go back. We used to be somewhat, acquaintances. We would mutually debate in terms of TikTok, and then there was a pretty big diverge. I challenged him to debate me, and he ignored me. I went to a live stream, and I challenged him to debate me. And his exact words is, if I wanted to debate him, I had to pay him $2,000.
You hear that, guys?
There's extra context to this. I don't know if you know about you guys, by the way. So Libiano also told John, hey, you don't have enough subscribers, you don't have enough clout, so I'm not going to debate you. Like, that was another part of this. And so what John did was asked me if I would be willing to do a 2v2 debate with Libiano, him, and some other Muslim on the Trinity. And I didn't really know who Libiano was at this point or anything, so I just said yes to help John out. And the moment that Libiano found out I would be John's number 2, Libiano doesn't go to another Muslim for his debate partner. He goes to an atheist. And then the atheist that he goes to, I'm not going to name his name right now, is a really good friend of mine. He's known for arguing against the Trinity, but then he decided, well, I don't want to debate Than on this. So then he backs out because they were friends, and also he thinks that my solution to the Trinity, logical problem of the Trinity, probably works. And so he backs out, and instead of just finding another debate partner, Libiano just backs out. And then this is what leads to the $2,000 thing. That's some extra context that you guys, I don't know if you knew about, but.
Interesting stuff.
That reminds me of something, actually. So there was actually a debate offer back in the day before Libiano became Libiano of how he is now on TikTok as well, and it kind of played out similar to what you're saying here. That's why it reminded me of this. There was supposed to be a debate about child marriage in Islam, and there's one guy on TikTok who's really good at arguing that, a Christian who's really good at arguing that side and proving that Islam promotes child marriage and pedophilia and things like that. And so he wanted to debate Libiano, but Libiano wouldn't do his same thing. He wouldn't do the one-on-one. He wanted to do a 2-on-2. So his friend joined, and he said, okay, well, my friend will debate with me, and then we'll debate you. The guy's name was Paul. We'll debate you, Paul. And then he said, okay, I'm going to bring Jai, but we're also going to debate preservation of the Quran as well. So we're going to do 2 debates. And we never heard back from them after that.
Yeah, and you got to pay me thousands of dollars to debate this Libiano guy. Interesting stuff. A lot of people are noticing here, Hijab sounds drunk, Hijab sounds slow, drunk, and so on. Yeah, everyone's noticing that. Even some Muslims are noticing that. And so Hijab's going to have to explain himself at some point, and I've already predicted that he's going to say that he's on painkillers for some sort of MMA injury or something like that. He's going to have to say something like that to explain why he sounds so totally wasted in these live streams. But we'll see. All right.
There might, maybe because especially he's so tall. Maybe there a lot of tall people have back issues. So maybe who knows? Maybe there's something to it. But he definitely is not in his sober mind. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's quite cheap. You should have paid it.
Well, here's
you're
what
bankrupt.
I offered him.
Wait, what's that?
He's bankrupt, and he's saying $2,000 is cheap. Yeah. You're bankrupt.
That's
and you're
why
telling
he's
him
bankrupt. He's not financially responsible.
Oh, okay. Wow, it's cheap. Just pay $2,000 to debate some guy online. Oh, wow.
Well, here's what I offered him. I offered.
Is that immoral thinking or what?
Yeah, I offered to pay him $2,000 to a charity of his choice, not in his pocket.
But why not? Why can't he have it in his pocket?
I don't think he's worth it.
Okay.
So I was hoping to talk to Libiano or Dean, but I am more than happy to talk with you. So I heard you speaking earlier about the harf and the aruf and the kirat, right?
No, that's all right. Tell him, what's your strongest argument against Islam?
My strongest argument against Islam?
Yeah.
Well,
what'd you say, Jai?
Guy's always eating, even in court. The records show he would be eating jelly donuts and sucking his fingers in court. He's always got something in his mouth.
He might be a nervous eater. You know what I mean?
Oh, that could be. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. Dinah says the stream, I've seen multiple people comment this. I just pulled this one up, but the stream they had today has already been taken down, David.
It's okay. We know someone recorded it, so it's okay.
Yeah.
We don't know what they said, but we know it's been recorded.
And we have to now. Someone has to record it live because Hijab's just going to embarrass himself and his religion over and over and over and over and over again. And then, so they're like, take it down now. We'll take out, we'll repost any clips where you didn't completely embarrass us and our religion. And apparently it's going to be every week now, guys. So fun times. And what do we got here? Hijab got the munchies, and then that Tajweed gives him the munchies. That sounds about right. All right, here we go.
I think there's a number. This is the argument I'm running right now because it fundamentally undermines, I think, a principle that is like reported within Islam.
Are you Christian?
I am Christian. I'm a Christian pastor.
Pastor?
Yes, sir.
Oh wow. So you're a high level guy.
Depends what you mean by high level, but we'll see who's the higher level between you and I when we talk, right? Because I know you're very educated.
It's probably you, man. It's probably you.
Oh, some humility.
Yeah, totally different vibe from, oh, yes, Avery, you pathetic little hillbilly. Oh. And no, probably you. Avery humbled him so much. Crazy. There we go.
When I say, or when you hear Muslims say that the Quran is preserved dot for dot, letter for letter, do you affirm that?
The Quran is preserved dot for dot, letter for letter. Well, the thing is, it wasn't revealed with dots and letters. It was revealed with sounds. So if we want to be very technical about it.
He used to say it, and then he got burned up. He got burned up on it, and it was just sounds, guys. It was just sounds.
We just played the clip of him saying that, by the way.
I'm sorry.
Dots and letters were not necessarily there at the time of the Prophet, so it was revealed with sounds.
Yes, but the spirit of what it's saying, right? Maybe not talking about like actual dots and letters, but do you think that the Quran has been perfectly preserved?
Perfectly preserved, yeah. Perfectly preserved, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can perfect preservation have distinctions in semantics and meaning?
Yeah, it can.
It can? How can it?
Yeah. What do you mean?
So when you say the Quran, the Quran, what do you mean?
Okay,
are you saying that it's singular, or are you saying that it's plural?
So he's basically asking about different Qurans having verses with different meanings, and trying to get Hijab to state his position on that. So just want everyone to know where he's going with this. Let's see.
Quran.
And again, he's trying to set up the logical problem of the Quran, where Muslims, as Than's already pointing out, they got their logical problem of the Trinity, and so they got their argument, and all you have to do is apply the exact same reasoning to the Quran, and it would seem to force them, because they're trying to force Christians into saying, okay, well, this would actually be three gods or something along those lines. And so you could take the exact same argument structure and the exact same meaning of concept of identity that they're demanding, and apply it to the Quran, and okay, now you guys have multiple Qurans. Hijab doesn't want to admit that there are multiple Qurans, and so he's got to end up saying that they only have part of the Quran. Oopsie. Well, let's see.
Is any approved recitation from Surah Al-Fatiha to Surah Al-Nas, okay, with chapter 1 to 114 of the Prophet, which fulfills three criterion.
Give me one.
And those three criterion are the ones that Ibn al-Jazari mentions in Tayyibut al-Nashr. Are you listening to me, my friend, or what?
He had his kid interrupt, man. Cut him some slack. What the heck?
No, I apologize. My daughter walked in. She didn't know I was live.
When you ask me a good question, and I think it's fair that I answer you. Right?
Yeah. I'm going to repeat what I heard, and then I want you to repeat.
No, it's all right. I'll just repeat from the beginning, okay? Look.
Okay.
When you ask me what the Quran is, it is the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha until Surah Al-Nas in a way which is commensurate with a chain of narration which goes all the way back to the Prophet and is approved by him, B, the skeletal text or the Rasm Uthmani, which is not necessarily written but is a ilm, which I can explain in a second. And the third thing is that it has to be commensurate with the Arabic language. If it fulfills all three criterion according to the biggest...
What's up?
So there was a debate that Libiano had versus Timothy at Speaker's Corner when he was there a couple weeks back. And he was asked this similar kind of style of questions. And you'll notice that Mohammed Hijab didn't bring up that the readings themselves need to be like mass transmitted or mutawatir. Like he didn't say that at all, which is important because Ibn al-Jazari rejects that as a concept, that the Quran, that the readings are have this like, tawatur or like mass transmission. However, Libiano, his student, actually believes that that's the defining characteristic of the readings of the Quran, that they have to have this kind of like mass transmission, what they call like mutawatir, which is basically like it's so massively transmitted that you can't basically come together and lie about it. Like so many people agree on it that it would be impossible for them to like collude. So that's actually what most Muslims believe in. Surprisingly, Mohammed Hijab didn't give that as a criteria here, because he's actually quoting Ibn al-Jazari, who does say what he said. It's not original to Ibn al-Jazari though, but he's like the popularizer of it. But it's important to note that because this is a different standard. It's a different criteria that you're going to hear from other Muslims like Libiano for what makes a reading of the Quran authentic. They're going to give you different criterion for that.
And I would say if the criteria that you guys have come up with leads to contradictions and all this stuff, I'd say you probably need some better criteria. And it's so simple. Human beings made mistakes when they're transmitting the Quran. It's so easy, but they can't acknowledge that. So guys, if you want to understand what they do and how absolutely insane this is, they've got dozens of different versions of the Quran. And they'll at least want to say like 10 of them or something like this. They all go back to Muhammad. They all go back to Muhammad. And every verse in every one of these, even though some of them contradict each other, they all go back to Muhammad. They were all revealed that way. And it's just, that's all just to avoid the idea that a human being could have made these kinds of errors and stuff like that and had textual variants.
I want to show something. I want to illustrate this point actually, because this is something that Muslims make such a big deal about, and I want to show like a graphic on this just to show you guys kind of what David is talking about here, because it's so crazy to think that this is not like just human intervention or human error.
You want that up on the screen?
Yeah, let's put that up on the screen and we'll kind of like go through this. So we can kind of like ignore the note here on the side, but the text here is what I want you guys to focus on. So this is like the Uthmanic kind of rasam, which is the consonantal outline of the text. There's no, so for Arabic, for the script to work, in order to read this properly, you need to have these little dots right here on here. But because there are no dots on the Uthmanic, like the manuscripts and stuff like that, the codices, it can lead to different ambiguities. So these are not canonical readings, these two right here, but I could have done this with canonical readings as well. But the idea is that, okay, so here's the skeletal outline for this one right here, if you can see my mouse. And you go down, you can put two dots right here, and it's going to say Al-Kitab, which is the book. Or you can go down here and put two dots below. It's al-kebab, which is like a kebab, like, like something to eat.
Yummy.
So, yeah, or like right here, Raib means doubt, Zayt means oil. The outline is the same. The only difference is the dots. So what they're suggesting, and by the way, this second one is an example that Muslims use in their literature, that like one of the readers, his name is actually Hamza Azayat, because he had this reading. It's not a canonical reading, but he, instead of reading it as Raib, he read it as Zayt. And so the idea in the literature is to show that you need like a teacher, you need a guide to do this. You can't just kind of, but it's so the point that I'm making here is like what David is saying is like, if you just have this consonant outline right here, and you can actually fill in the blanks with certain dots, Muslims are like, oh, this is so like I do have a example with like the famous example here where it's like king versus owner, and the only difference is going to be like a long kind of line to indicate that it's a long vowel. So the idea is that there's no mistakes here. It's just it's like, but you can see how a scribe can easily make these errors. A scribe can easily just put like 2 dots here, or sorry, the 2 dots are consistent, but like, you know, two dots on the top here, or 1 dot on the bottom, like making a T sound or a B sound. It just seems like so easy that any scribe could just make that mistake. But Muslims like, no, it's not a scribe who's making the mistake. It's Allah.
Allah revealed it in all these ways.
Yeah. So I have this slide for like to prove other points, but like this is like, you know, it illustrates like kind of what you're talking about there. This is you know, different point. Maybe we'll get to it later on, but I just wanted to show that.
Yeah. So I have an interesting question about this, by the way, real quick too. It's a philosophical one. I don't know if Muslims will actually have an answer to this, but the basic idea is like, if they think Allah is a necessary being and that the Kalam Allah is somehow part of the constitutive identity of Allah, why is there 7 modes? So like, what basically Muslims will ask the question, why are there 3 persons and not 4 or 5 and blah blah blah? But then basically, if the Kalam Allah contains 7 modes, why can't we just ask the same kind of parrot type of question? That's like an arbitrary number. Well, why does the speech of Allah contain this? Why does Allah choose 7 modes and not 8, 9, 3, 4, whatever?
Oh, I can tell you exactly what they'll say.
What
They'll say only Allah knows. that's what only Allah knows.
Then stop arguing against the Trinity.
Yeah, but
right?
Yeah, it's interesting because like you can ask like, oh, where was the Injil revealed in different modes? Was the Torah revealed in different modes? You can kind of like ask those questions too. And the only reason they're going to say we don't know is because there's no like hadith on that. But yeah, they don't know what we say modes, but that's like kind of conceptual translation. But the actual term ahruf, they have no idea what that means. The scholars say there's up to 40 opinions for what that means, and so they don't know what it means. They don't know why it's 7. They don't know how many exist today. It's just a complete mystery. That's why Yasser Qadi says that this is the most confusing topics in the sciences of the Quran, this topic of ahruf and the relationship between the ahruf and the different readings we have today.
Yep, they don't know. And anyone, if you like, Muslims will say, hey, Bart Ehrman says there are tons of textual variants. Right, we know there are textual variants. Why? Because if a human being is copying an entire book, right, and you have different levels of competence among scribes, like, you know, if you're in the ancient world, you don't always have a professional scribe. And if you are, you know, if your church wants its own copy of this gospel or something like this early on, you have to copy you have to copy the text that some other church has. You have to borrow it and make a copy of it and so on. But you'll have different levels of competence here. So it's obvious that human beings can and by the way, any one of us here, if we tried to copy the Bible by hand, we would end up making some mistakes along the way and so on. But just imagine, so Muslims say, you have textual variants, you have textual variants. Well, you guys have textual variants. But all of ours go back to Muhammad. I mean, like, how desperate would it be? Oh yeah, we have textual variants in Bible manuscripts, but they all go back to Jesus. Like suddenly they would understand how like absolutely ridiculous that sounds. If you're talking about inference to the best explanation, Jai was showing you put the dots there, it means one thing. Put the dots there, it means something else. Mohammed Hijab was saying, you know, you have to have the skeletal text so guys, the idea here is they were writing early on without the dots, right? You know, later on they start writing with the dots, but you can put the dots in different places, get different meanings. And so you'll have the same skeletal text of a verse, but they'll put dots in different ways, giving different meanings. And instead of saying someone just put the dots in the wrong place, given a different meaning, they say, no, it was revealed in both those ways. And both of those go back to Muhammad. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But this is the rough position that they've found themselves in because they built everything up on lies, and now they're trying to salvage the lie. All right, here we go. Back to the video.
Authority of Qira'at probably in Islamic history. His name is Ibn al-Jazari, and the book is called Tayyibatun Nashr, which is the most authoritative book on the matter. That thing in question would be called the Quran. If it does not fulfill those 3 criterion, then it would not be called the Quran.
Okay, so are you affirming that, so if we take the modes specifically, right, and you're saying, okay, it meets these conditions where it's an approved recitation,
Yeah.
If we take the mode specifically and we say of mode 1, if someone, let's say you have 3 Muslims in a room, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
One person recites the Quran in mode 1.
Sure.
Have they truly recited the Quran?
Yes. So that's
Let's
a good
say another
question.
Muslim recites in mode 2. Has that Muslim truly recited the Quran?
Yeah, exactly.
Are mode 1 and mode 2 distinct from one another?
Yeah, exactly. So it's
I just want to say here.
Sorry, let me just. What's up?
What John means here is when he's saying the Quran, he means the whole Quran, because Mohammed Hijab makes an analogy later on, and he talks about, well, if I read Genesis, I read the Bible, but you didn't read the whole Bible. So yes, you can say, like, if you just read like chapter 1 of the Quran, I just read the Quran. But the question is, if you read this like a book from cover to cover, everything in there, did you just read the entirety of did you read the whole Quran? And Mohammed Hijab is going to be forced to say no once he finally understands what John's saying.
The better way to, like, for a Mohammed Hijab to have made the analogy would have been like, if I read the NIV translation of the Bible, have I read the Bible?
Right.
And the answer would be yes, right? Because I can not read the KJV or any of these other translations, and I still would have read the Bible, because that would be a different, and that would be the best analog for what a mode would be.
And
does that make sense?
Yeah, and no, I mean, I got sidetracked because I was thinking about the implications of what he's saying here, because he gave us one of the requirements for reading the Quran, that it's the same from Surat Al-Fatiha all the way to Surat An-Nas, right? So that's the 114 chapters. But that just ruled out Abdullah ibn Masud and Ubay ibn Ka'b, who had different chapters in their Qurans. And so Muhammad said, if you want to learn the Quran from anyone, learn it from, and he named 4 guys that he thought were best. 2 of them were Abdullah ibn Masud and Ubay ibn Ka'b, who had different numbers of chapters in their Quran. So the top guys that Muhammad pointed to for learning the Quran wouldn't even qualify as reciting the Quran according to Mohammed Hijab. That's pretty insane. You can make another dilemma out of that, right? Like, okay, did Muhammad know what the Quran is? If so, then he pointed to these guys. And if you're saying, no, those guys got it wrong, then okay, Muhammad didn't know what the Quran is. You're kind of in trouble either way.
Yeah, wow. And I want to say, like, at least his definition, is technical, because some Muslims, like, if you just come to them on like TikTok, I've heard these recordings of the replays or whatever they call them, like the clips or whatever, and sometimes they'll just say the Quran is revelation. And so it's like, well, is the Torah revelation? Okay, so is the Torah the Quran? Like, so you have to be very specific. So he's trying to like be technical, but like you said, that rules out other companion Qurans. And Muhammad recommended you learn the Quran or take the Quran from those people who have different Qurans, because Muhammad says take the Quran, and if Quran means chapter 1 to 114, if that's what Quran means, then Muhammad wasn't talking about the same thing that you're talking about.
Got a problem here.
Let's answer this question. It's a good question. So, say you've got 2 qira'ahs, you've got 2 readings of the word Malik, or the word, which you do have, right? So, for example,
king and owner, right?
King and owner, right? So, some of the qurra, they recite it Malik, which is owner, and some of them recite it Malik, which is king. Are you aware of that, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Our claim is the Prophet Muhammad approved both. Okay.
Approved both. Guys, here again. Inference to the best explanation. You have these words which look and sound very, 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 very similar. So, how do you explain that you have one word in certain Quran, certain versions of the Quran, and the other word in certain versions of the Quran? And I would just say, well, you had whatever the original reading was, and then someone messed up at some point and got an almost a very similar looking word. They went with it. That would, and I wouldn't even have a problem with that, unless you were saying perfect dot for dot, letter for letter preservation. Then I'd say, okay, this refutes you. But they can't say that. Nope. Muhammad approved them both. And
by the way, that's according to Mohammed Hijab. I can just kind of explain this point, or I can show a slide on this if you want. It's up to you how you
quick.
want to. Okay, yeah, I'll break it down. So basically, from the canonical readings, there's two options: Malik and Malik, like owner and king. But if you take all of the literature from like the 14 readings, and then from the irregular readings, and then from the Shia and whatever, you get 21 different readings from one word. There's 21 different readings. Now, and amongst the canonical, what has later been decided by later scholars, which, by the way, Mohammed Hijab goes on to say, like, oh, well, we get the New Testament canon. He says 22 books. The 22 book canon of the New Testament from Athanasius. Who's Athanasius? 300 years later. Who's Athanasius? Who gave him the authority to choose what the Bible is? Well, who's Ibn Mujahid? 300 years later, choosing the 7 readings of the Quran. Who's Ibn al-Jazari? I don't know the time in my head, but it's like 15th century, whatever, yep. Like 8 centuries after Muhammad or whatever, basically almost. Like who gave them the authority to choose what the Quran is? We can all ask these questions, and what the difference is, like how we answer versus how he answers, and if he's gonna be consistent or not. So basically, that's his explanation for the differences there, because in his mind, he's like, okay, they're both canonical readings. So you have king and owner. So therefore, they must both go back to Muhammad. Well, before these readings were enforced on people, and by enforced, I mean like politically, like they had like armies behind them. Ibn Mujahid had a whole like government on his side, where you had people who, if you talk about the 3 criteria of like, okay, you need a sound chain. Well, guess what? There's a guy called Ibn Shenabuth. He had a sound chain for the Quran of Ibn Masud, and he had a sound chain for the reading of Ubay. So sound chain isn't enough. So that's why they need to add 3 criterion. And then also you have the criterion of it needs to match one of the outlines of the Uthmanic script. So he had 2 out of the 3. He had two out of the 3. And then there's a third one, which is the grammatical rule. The grammatical it needs to match with the Arabic language in at least one aspect. So he had 2 out of the 3 criterion. It was a sound chain, and it matched with Arabic grammar in one aspect. The only thing that it broke was the Uthmanic Rasam, like it didn't have the consonantal outline. It disagreed with that. But he had 2 of those things, Ibn Shenabuth. Guess what happened to him? He was imprisoned. He was flogged. He was tortured until he recanted his position, and he agreed with Ibn Mujahid on the 7 readings. So before that was enforced, that canonization was enforced, At-Tabari, who is before the canonization, and according to some sources, he's a teacher of Ibn Mujahid, who was the canonizer of the 7 readings. He says in his commentary in chapter 1, verse 4, okay, we have these readings of king, and we have these readings of owner. Did he say they both go back to Muhammad? They both go back to Muhammad? No. He said that it makes more sense that this one of king is the correct reading. He actually uses the word correct. He says the more correct reading. Sahho means the most correct or the most authentic reading. It comes from the word like sahih, like correctness, authentic. So he said that the most correct reading is the reading of king, which, by the way, is like the reading that they use in like the Warsh Qalun, which is basically makes about 4% of the Muslim world. He says 95% of the Muslim world today who are reciting the Quran are doing it in an inferior reading. Because this is why he says this. He says because it's known that every king is an owner. So there's the 2 variants, the king and owner. Every king is automatically an owner by default. But it's not, the flip side is not true. Not every owner is necessarily a king. So he says that the word king already encompasses the word owner, but the word owner doesn't encompass the word king. So therefore, that's superior reading. But he wasn't going around saying, oh, Muhammad said like this, Muhammad said like that. He was giving you logical reasons for why he thought that this is the most correct reading. And David has pointed out before that if you compare textual criticism done for the Bible, that's not the reasoning you would use to find an authentic reading. It's not what makes the most sense. It would be the reading that makes it doesn't, like, it'd be like, okay, because you'd have to explain why would they come up with a reading that's harder to explain or something like that. That's kind of the logic of biblical scholars. But anyway, that's kind of a short version of what I wanted to say.
Yep. Yeah. So, guys, that last point is textual criticism. If textual critics see 2 different words in different manuscripts and stuff, they're the go-to method is, well, if you have one in an early manuscript and another doesn't appear until a much later manuscript or something like that, you know which one to go. You know which one to go with. But if it's a situation where I'm getting a crazy echo here, if it's a situation where they both go back to early manuscripts or something like that, and you got two words. You don't go with the one you like better or the one that fits what you believe better or something like that. You go with the one that's kind of more awkward or something like that, because if someone at some point changed the word, the tendency would be to change it to something that avoids the awkwardness or something like this, or something that's confusing to you. And so, yep, the method of actual textual critics over and over again tend to be the opposite of the methods that Muslims settled upon. It's the same thing with grading hadiths and so on. The methods that Muslims use are the opposite of the methods that non-Muslim hadith scholars would use. And it's just this weird situation where real, actual scholarly ways of examining their text would completely destroy their book, and so they can't do it. They have to come up with like completely silly methodologies.
Yeah. All right. Have two different meanings, but our claim is that he approved both. In other words, we believe Allah revealed it like this, and Allah revealed it like that as well. Okay, like this way and like that way. So if you're asking, is that if someone recites only Malik Yawmuddin and does not recite Malik Yawmuddin, have they recited Surah Al-Fatiha? Yes, they have. So is the minimum requirement for the Quran to be read once is reciting it only with one mode.
Okay. Okay. So can I respond now? So if we just apply, right, the same principle of Leibniz law, right? If A equals B, then whatever is true of A is true of B.
Okay.
Right? If we apply Leibniz law to this principle and we say of the modes that Muslim, like that room I was saying, Muslim 1 recites in mode 1, Muslim 2 recites the Quran in mode 2, Muslim 3 recites the Quran in mode 3. According to Leibniz law, how many Qurans are represented by numerical identity?
That's the thing. Look, I don't think you understand what I'm saying to you. All right. If you go from Surah Al-Fatiha until Surah Al-Nas.
No, I do understand. I can
let me explain it, because there's something clearly not. There's something.
I could steal man.
You're missing it. No, there is something. The fact that you think I think is identical is a problem. I don't think they're identical. I think that there are distinctions between them, and they're not. I'm not trying to make a Trinitarian argument about Malik and Malik. I'm not trying to say that they're separate and distinct as well as conjoined at the same time. I'm not making a contradictory claim like Trinitarians do. I'm just making a normal claim that you have two ways of reciting this particular verse. You have Malik and you have Malik. Owner and king, both of them are approved by the Prophet. Okay, and that's it. Simple as this.
Okay, so I understand. Respectfully, you didn't answer my question.
Okay, well, maybe you didn't understand my answer, because I'm saying to you that it's not the same. We don't believe the law of identity or substitution identity holds in this situation, because we're not saying everything that is true of, because it's ridiculous. There are aspects of the Quran which are completely different from other aspects anyway. Chapter 1 is different from chapter 2, but they're both.
Are you applying a part-whole relation, or are you applying an equivocation?
Yeah. So it's a part-whole relation. That's what I'm saying to you. It's a part-whole relation. It's Malik is
we
part
did not
of the
say
Quran.
that initially.
Malik
by
is
the
also
way,
part of the Quran.
What's that then?
He did not say that to John initially at all. Like he didn't imply any sort of part-whole relation in the last 10 minutes. And Hijab is sitting here being like, "Oh, that's what I'm saying. What, you didn't hear me say part-wholes, mereology?" It's like, not until John just made the words explicit. So either Hijab is trying to hide behind something, or he just was not tracking at all with his own answer.
And I think once he kind of felt that, because this is what he was trying to run on Avery when Avery was on, this kind of the logical problem of the Trinity, which they kind of get from Dale Tuggy and other Unitarian philosophers and use it their own way. But he was trying to run the argument, so he's familiar with the kind of like the questions and like how you get to this point. And if the Christian says this, then this is why you respond. If the Christian says that, that's how you respond. And when he saw it flipped, you don't understand me. No, you don't understand what I'm saying. You clearly don't understand. Like the gaslighting starts when he clearly understood him, but then Mohammed Hijab, like you said, he changed his, or he introduced something new, which was he didn't say before, which is this parts whole relationship. So in other words, what he's saying is that king. So if you read the Quran and that the variant that you're going to read is going to be like the reading with king, then you're actually reading just part of Al-Fatiha, and you're not reading the entirety or the whole chapter of Al-Fatiha. You need to read all, well, actually, they don't even have, that's part of the problem, which we are going to talk about today. They don't actually have all the readings. So, yeah, it's going to be problematic.
Jai, when Mohammed Hijab is saying, "Oh, you got these two different readings, but Mohammed confirmed them all." Just to be clear, it's not like when you have all these textual variants and you have tens of thousands of them that you have a hadith where Muhammad says, "Oh yeah, I affirm that reading and that other reading and that other reading." They're just saying, "Okay, we have this version of the Quran, the Hafs, and it has a chain of narration that supposedly goes back to Muhammad that definitely couldn't have been invented. No one can invent a list of names." And then we have this other Quran version, and it has a different word, a different reading and stuff, but it also has a chain of a list of names that go back to Muhammad, and so no one could have ever faked that list of names. That's what isn't that what he's basing it on? Like, all these different versions say they all go back to Muhammad, therefore Muhammad must have affirmed all these different versions.
That's exactly what he's saying. And that's why I brought the point with Al-Tabari, because you have a 10th century huge scholar who's saying that actually, no, there's another way to look at this. It's not that these are both, he doesn't say the language that they're both divine. He says that one of them is more correct than the other one. And so the kind of analogy that I like to use is like if a Christian is reading like a verse in the gospel according to John and the gospel according to Matthew, and you would never say, "Oh, this in John it's more correct than in Matthew," because this is the Bible, this is the inspired word of God. We don't say it's more correct than the other. So obviously he didn't have that view. He didn't share that view that Mohammed Hijab has. He's saying, no, this reading of King is more correct than this other reading. He didn't say they both go back to Muhammad. Muhammad approved both readings. And even you have scholars today like Yasser Qadi who says that yes, you might have a valid chain that goes back to Muhammad, but what is the chain telling you? Is it saying that Muhammad actually said it like that? Or did he just give permission, let's say, for it to be said in different ways, and maybe that was one of the ways he said it, but did Muhammad actually say it like that? That's what Yasser Qadi was saying in the interview to Mohammed Hijab. What did Muhammad say? What was the Quran? What did it look like? And that's the problem that we're going to see today.
All right, let's see.
That is what I'm saying. It's mereologically part whole. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, if it's part whole, then your camera just died. If it's part whole, then if it is the case that someone recites mode 1 and someone recites mode 2 and someone recites mode 3, then they are not reciting. Because I asked you earlier, I said, are they reciting the Quran?
I think
one sec, let me finish. I didn't cut you off. So it is not the case that they are reciting the Quran if they only recite in mode 1, mode 2, and mode 3, but rather, according to what you just said, they are reciting part of the Quran.
Yeah. Okay. No, see, that's right. Okay. But when I say I've read Genesis, I say I'm reading the Bible. It doesn't. That's a vernacular expression. All right. If I read the book of Genesis and I say I'm reading the Bible, what I mean is, and this is I don't understand. Every week, it's as if I speak to Christians that don't understand part and whole. If I say a part of something can be expressed in the language of wholes. If I say I read the book of Genesis, and is it okay for me to say I'm reading the Bible? Of course it's okay for me to say I'm reading the Bible if I'm only reading Genesis. So you can use a part to...
It's not the whole Bible, though, and that's John's question. If you read Al-Fatiha to An-Nas, everything in between the covers of this particular book, did you read the whole Quran? And the answer that Mohammed Hijab is forced to say now is no, you didn't read the whole Quran. You just read a percentage or a part of the Quran. But no one would say that if you just read Genesis that you just read the entire Bible, you read the whole Bible. No one would say that. You read the Bible, but you didn't read the entirety of the Bible. I don't know if there's like a distinction in philosophy or something between the and the whole, but I don't know what he's getting at here. But to me,
all he's doing is equivocating on terms. There's just an equivocation between the Quran being the complete object that he's referring to, and then the Quran in the vernacular expression sense that he's alluding to. Like in the same way that when I say I've read the Bible, that's just shorthand for saying I read Genesis, which is a part of the Bible, right? And so when he says I read the Quran, he's equivocating between the term Quran, as in the fullness of the revealed speech of Allah,
I see what you're saying.
And Quran, as in just this shorthand way of saying I've read one of the modes.
So he's equivocating. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Hijab's not answering the actual question that he's trying to get at. He could just rephrase it and say, okay, if someone has memorized the Hafs version, all 114 chapters, and he says, I've memorized the whole Quran, is he speaking accurately? Something like that. But anyway, Hijab's going to get the point. Let's see.
Express.
Hey, by the way, David, can you take one of your millions of Qurans off the shelf? I'm just curious if how they title it. It's like the translation of the Quran or something, right? It doesn't say a part of the Quran. It's gonna say the Quran, right? So this is kind of funny. Now we're gonna have to go to all these publishing companies, and we're gonna have to correct them and say, hey, Mohammed Hijab said you guys are only publishing part of the Quran. You guys are saying it's irresponsible for you to say it's the Quran when it's actually part of the Quran.
Yep. And someone here says, running from Libiano. I can't tell if you're making fun of people who think that people are running from Libiano, or if you think someone is actually running from Libiano. What are you doing here? Because
his comment is on the screen. I don't know if they're responding to that, or it's like his comment is Libiano's comment is on the screen on the video. So I don't know if they're saying, I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're lying about John because the video's not out, and so the standard narrative, so to speak here.
Oh, they're saying he ran from Libiano.
Is that he ran from Libiano in this discussion because Libiano came up. But nobody can see the video because Hijab's copyright striking everybody. But you'll see it here. John tells Libiano to stay because he wants a piece of him too. But Libiano leaves and then never comes back.
Okay, so they're accusing John of running from Libiano. And like what you're saying is because they keep copyrighting the video, no one can actually see if that's actually true or not. But of course, because Mohammed Hijab says it, they're all just going to repeat it mindlessly. Okay. So we're going to see, I guess we're going to see in this video, we're going to see John running from Libiano. I guess we're going to see that.
All right, let's see.
Is that clear?
Okay, but how would...
It's called totem pro parte, which is using a whole to describe a part and vice versa. You can do that. That's a normal...
So now we can ask an epistemic question, okay?
Okay.
If I hear a Muslim say the Quran has been perfectly preserved, and I hear one Muslim say that it's never been changed, right? There was, I can't remember the name of the scholar right now, but specifically, there was a person who went around saying it was dot for dot, letter for letter, right? He was a very influential person. There's clips of him. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, because look, the dots and the letters were only introduced in like...
No. I'm just saying this was... he was an older gentleman. He had just a white beard. He didn't have a mustache. It's from back in the day. Anyway, I've had many conversations with Muslims, and so I've heard this claim constantly where Muslims are floored whenever you show any type of distinction because their idea of perfect preservation and your idea of perfect preservation are distinct from each other.
Hey, by the way, that's interesting in itself. He says, when you're saying, yes, the Quran has been preserved, perfectly preserved, Hijab is saying, of course we have all these different versions of the Quran, but they all go back to Muhammad, so it's been perfectly preserved. When your average Muslim, when he hears perfectly preserved, is thinking one Quran, dot for dot, letter for letter. Why? Because that's what you guys used to say perfect preservation meant.
Yep.
And they're still going with that earlier definition before you admitted that basically you were all lying. And it's just amazing that Muslims didn't catch on and go, oh, wait, you are liars when we can't trust what you're saying. But yeah, that's the situation here.
So if we take your idea, because I'm arguing against you.
If you're telling me Muslims that you speak to are unaware of what I'm saying, that's because they haven't learned it formally.
That's fine.
So I try and teach these people.
Here we go. Here's now's Libiano. So John already explained that he wanted to debate Libiano, but Libiano said, you will never debate me unless you give me $2,000 in cash. And he said, I'll tell you what, I'll give $2,000 to a charity of your choice. He said, no, $4,000. It'll be $2,000 to a charity of my choice and $2,000 to me. So then the price went up and stuff. And somehow this is everyone running from Libiano. But let's see what happens here.
Oh, by the way, I just want to say, look at his face right now. He's very happy to see he's not looking like he's gonna run. He's like finally, I got my opportunity to smoke this guy.
Hi, Libiano. We're gonna put you on in a second. Let me just.
What's up?
Make sure you don't. Libiano, make sure he's
I-
transferred the money before he speaks to you.
I just want to
though.
point something quickly, right? I'll let
Go
you
on.
guys because I'm outside. Hey, John, are there three gods in a sense?
It depends on what you say. So listen.
Are there-
Wait,
are
wait,
there-
listen to me.
John,
Wait, 1 second.
John, are
1
there
second.
three gods in a sense, John?
There are not three gods in a sense as it pertains to ontology. No.
Not
Well,
as
actually,
it
that's a
pertains
good
to
question. Maybe we should
ontology,
go to
as
that.
There
it
are
pertains-
not three gods in a sense as it
We're gonna
pertains
put
to
you in.
ontology.
We're gonna put you in right after this. We don't want to make it look like a 2-on-1 because.
Hey, guys, you see this? Libiano does what? He jumps in there and instantly tries to change the subject.
Yeah, of course.
Why?
Of
He
course.
just heard
Yeah.
Hijab say that we've got parts. We've got parts. Any version of the Quran you're reading part of the Quran. He knows where this is going. He knows what John is doing. He knows John is setting this up for the logical problem of the Quran using the exact same structure. So he's trying to derail it. He's trying to derail the entire discussion.
Wait a minute now. I think there's just coming to me now. He's saying, do you believe there's three gods in a sense? I think Libiano actually said that there are multiple Qurans in a sense. Let me get that recording and I'll try to download that and send it to you because this will be really funny if he's trying to get John on something. And if John, I don't know if he said this or not, but like he's saying, okay, it may be in a sense, depending on how you count or whatever, but I don't know what he said. He's clarifying now his position.
Oh.
However, Libiano definitely said that, if my memory is correct here, that there are multiple Qurans in a sense. So that in a sense always gets him in trouble because in his debate with Avery, he said that Jesus is Yahweh in a sense. So this in a sense always gets him in trouble. Allah is a father in a sense.
To clarify, John, because John has the same philosophical model of the Trinity that I do. So I can tell you right now, John does not affirm three gods by predication, which is what Libiano is trying to go after. So this whole three gods in a sense thing is just a way to be opaque with language to try to get a clip and throw it out to people that don't know any better to make people look bad and claim victory. That's all he's doing.
That is definitely what he's doing and trying to derail things. Yusuf says, lol, is this the wife beater? Yes, this is the wife beater Libiano, according to his friend Malik, who shared that information with the world. Let's see.
No, I'll talk with him, but I just want an agreement from you really quick. Libiano, if you want to jump in, I know why you're jumping in. So, as it pertains to the nature of God, there are not three gods.
You can put me down now.
We'll come to that, John.
No. Wait, don't drop. No. I want you here, Libiano. No.
By the way, this is funny because Libiano understands Hijab is about to cause some serious damage to the Ummah and their theology of the Quran. Hijab doesn't seem to get it, right? So Libiano's jumping in, hey, let me take it over from here and divert this to the Trinity, and I'll start attacking the Trinity. We'll just go from there. And Hijab's like, no, we don't want to make it 2-on-1. You just go off. I'll continue the conversation. No. Let's not do that. Let's. Oh gosh, you know what that just reminded me of? It just reminded me of the Holes in the Narrative interview when Yasser Qadhi starts going, this is not a good idea. Let's not talk about this. We shouldn't be having this. Let's have this discussion in private. We should not be saying this in front of other people. It's like, no. What's the problem? Let's go ahead. And he demanded that they keep talking about it. That's how he is. Everyone else, other Muslims can see the problem and be like, this is a really bad idea, dude. You're doing a lot of damage right now. And he just doesn't see it until later. And then he deletes. So he had to delete the Holes in the Narrative interview. He deleted this. It's sad.
Yeah. And as you're watching this, just for everybody, remember the narrative that the Muslims have about John right now is that he's running from Libiano. If you are watching this right now and think that John is scared of Libiano or running from him, you are delusional and you need help.
And you're stupid.
John is literally saying, I want you here. Stay here. I want to talk to you.
And it's kind of like IP when IP called in and Hijab instantly left, and then he put D's response up on there, and IP said, hey, happy to debate D's response as long as I get to debate you afterwards, and they kicked him.
Oh,
and then IP is running.
Yeah, everyone's running from this guy. By the way, I just want to correct myself real quick. The clip actually says, he said, if we were to count by classical identity, then we'd have multiple Qurans. But he said he takes the type token model, which maybe one of you guys can break down. But that's the correct quote. So he didn't say there's multiple Qurans in a sense. Well, I guess in a sense, if classical identity, he did say that. But just to be clear on that, what he didn't say.
All right, let's see here.
No, don't run.
Okay, so do you want to speak to
Don't
Liana
run.
then?
3 gods in a sense.
Don't run.
Man. 3 gods in a sense. I'm here, bro.
Did I or did I not offer you $2,000 to debate me formally on a neutral platform? Did I or did I not offer you $2,000 to a charity of your choice to debate me on a neutral platform? And you know, actually, I've got an argument just for you. I actually made an argument for you.
This doesn't look like John is running to me.
Nope.
Wow. Very professional from Libiano here. Okay. Definitely John's running from him for sure.
I'm not interested in playing this part because it's nothing, but we just want anyone who
You
said
good?
John is running.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Oh,
okay, wow.
Look, John somehow magically kicked Libiano from Hijab's platform. You see, this is John running from Libiano.
Mohammed Hijab.
Wow. So Than, the actual narrative that Muslims are spinning and saying and propagating is that John, in this discussion that we just saw right here, because I don't think Libiano comes back, does he? He doesn't come back,
No,
does he?
not that I remember.
So what we just saw right here was John running from Libiano. That's what they're saying.
Yep.
Wow, okay. Well, there you go, guys. That's Dawah. Dawah is deception.
That was powerful, powerful. Let's see.
Where'd you go, Libiano?
Oh, let's finish what we were talking about, and then Libiano's going to come on now. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got an argument. I've got an argument just.
Let's finish what we were saying.
To be
and
clear,
then
the question,
coming on now, he's fixing out his audio.
Well, really quick, the question he asked, I want to be perfectly clear. There is never a point where I have ever said that there are 3 gods
We'll come to that.
in reference to
You
nature.
can speak to Libiano about that.
So
you don't need to get defensive. You can speak to Libiano about that.
So
I'm answering your
back to
questions
you
about
really quick.
Islam, yeah?
Yeah,
So
so back
you
to
asked
you.
the question about the ahruf. You asked the question about the Quran, right?
Yeah. So on the part whole relation, you say, okay, if someone recites mode 1, they're reciting the Quran.
Yeah.
Yes.
A part of the Quran. How about that?
Okay.
Is that better for
They're
you?
reciting parts of the Quran.
Yeah.
And so if you have the Quran as a part whole relation, then you actually would have to say that at certain points the Quran was not fully revealed until the 7th mode was revealed, right?
Oh yeah, that's what we affirm.
Okay. All right.
The Quran says that itself.
But the Quran doesn't say that.
Where? Yeah, where? Chapter and verse. Hijab. Chapter and verse. Pretty crazy, right? Yeah. It's part of the Quran. You can recite the entire Hafs Quran. You recited part of the Quran. Okay, what's the problem? Ouch. Ouch.
And so I guess kind of the implications here, which is really this is basically the core of it here. Then he's gonna go over to the Bible. Watch this. He's gonna I don't know if we're gonna watch it, but what he's gonna do now is he's gonna go over to the Bible and he's gonna accuse John of doing two co-quay fallacy. But Mohammed Hijab is the one that's gonna go to the Bible now. So, but anyway, so I guess the point has been made that reading the Hafs cover to cover, every single word in there, like you said, you can memorize the whole thing. You only memorize part of the Quran. You only read part of the Quran. So that means that the entirety of the Quran, now it's in percentages. The Quran can be broken up into parts, it's percentages. So 100% of the Quran is 7 ahruf. That's what Mohammed Hijab hasn't said so clearly yet, but that's what he actually means when he says that the entire, if Hafs is only part of it, and Hafs represents some of the modes or a mode, depending on how Muslims look at it. And then you have the entirety of the canonical readings that, according to Muslim scholarship, like Than breaks down in his video, and I went over in the review yesterday, that it's not the case that all 7 modes continue to exist today, that they do not exist, and there's reasons for why they say that. But even if you're not convinced by the reasons that they give, the arguments that they give, the consensus is that all 7 modes don't exist. So it doesn't matter what Libiano says, some guy from TikTok or whatever. It's the consensus of Muslim scholars is that all 7 modes don't exist. So what does that mean? That means that you might escape the problem of having multiple Qurans, but you're now introduced to another problem, which is that you have an incomplete Quran.
And that's the Quran dilemma. Under no circumstances, Muslims, do you have one Quran as it was completed during the time of Muhammad. You do not have it. You've either got many Qurans or you've got part of the Quran. You don't have what you think. And like 99 point something % of you believe that that's what you have, and you're all wrong. You're all indisputably wrong.
Okay, so now let me ask the.
There was a time when the whole Quran wasn't revealed. There wasn't even one verse of the Quran revealed.
So now let me ask an epistemic question, right? Because there are specific instances.
Because this doesn't seem like a strong argument, John. If I'm honest with you.
Well, let me bring this up. So I'm going to ask an epistemic question now.
Sure.
There are instances where people that were around Muhammad's time would hear these different modes, and actually they would look at it as if someone was misquoting the Quran.
That's true.
So when we're looking at perfect preservation, right?
But what would happen afterwards? So, like, for example, there's a hadith.
What would happen afterwards is Muhammad would make something up. Right. Yeah, guys, what he's referring to here is you got a story. Wait, he's going to tell the story, isn't he? Let's see. I think he tells the story. I don't recall if it was here or somewhere else. I think he tells the story. Let's see. So yeah, I don't need to tell the story because he's going to tell the story. But yeah, Muslims end up reciting the Quran differently, and apparently no one was familiar with the idea that the Quran was being revealed in all these different ways all along. They hadn't heard it before. And so they think, this guy's reciting the Quran differently. I need to snatch this guy up, slap some sense into him, right? The guy, Umar, brings him to Muhammad. Muhammad has them recite the Quran in different ways. And he says, yep, Allah revealed it in these different ways. Notice, he didn't tell them that before. He told them that after they were getting busted for having different Qurans, for reciting the Quran differently. And then Muhammad, oh yeah, it was revealed in all these different ways. Okay.
One second.
So notice it seems like Muhammad is making something up to avoid the idea that he didn't remember the Quran perfectly and he taught it to different people in different ways. He's trying to make something up to protect himself. And then later Muslims, they have to continue making things up. That's just the pattern. It's better to lie than to tell the truth if the truth is going to start bothering some people.
Wait, hold on. You made a claim that it needs to be corrected. What you're saying is half true. It's not fully true. You said that there were instances where they would think it's misquoted. The fact is, they thought it was misquoted. And then when they clarified with the Prophet told them, هَكَذَا أُنزِلَتْ. In fact, this is a very famous hadith. هَكَذَا أُنزِلَتْ. That it came down like this and it came down like that. For example, the hadith of Umar ibn al-Khattab, when he was in the prayer with somebody reciting Surah Al-Furqan, which is chapter 25 of the Quran, whereby that person was reciting it with slightly different recitational variations. So Umar ibn Khattab in the hadith says that I felt so angry that I wanted to grab this guy and deal with him. But I restrained myself because I was praying. And then after that, I went to the Prophet and I took him. I dragged this guy with me. And I said to him, recite it the way that you recited it to me in the prayer. So then he recited it the way that he recited it to Umar in the prayer. And the Prophet said, هَكَذَا أُنزِلَتْ هَكَذَا أُنزِلَتْ. The way you've recited it is a mode or is a recitation, and the way you've recited it is a mode and recitation. So all of the instances where in which there's a prophetic approval of the different recitations, this is clearly showing you that all of this is within the preservation, within the remit of preservation in the Quran. So can we agree, number one, that's a justifiable thing. People can agree or disagree, no problem. The Bible, on the other hand, and this is what I was saying to your friend.
Before he goes,
what's up?
Yeah, before he goes to the Bible now, I just want to point out that when you establish that there is there's hadith about the ahruf, and that is like if you think about like variations in the Quran as like an umbrella, and like one of the kind of like branches would be ahruf, and but that's not the same thing as the modern readings that we have today. He's assuming that they're the same thing. but that's what Yasser Qadi was saying is the difficulty.
No,
is
yeah, he's saying
that
you can't explain it. You can't explain it. Yeah.
Yeah. So So anyway, so he's about to go into like the Bible now and try to he's going to accuse John of doing
He's going to try to divert.
Yeah. So guys, Libiano tried to divert, and now Hijab is trying to divert because they don't want John putting it all together, or drawing out the conclusions. Keep in mind. So what I was just saying, that I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious that Muhammad was just making this up after he realized different people had learned the Quran differently from him, right? Which just means he didn't remember it perfectly, and he taught it differently to different people. This gets brought up to him, and now he's looking like he's going to be embarrassed. Because keep in mind, from Umar's perspective, if you hear a guy reciting the Quran differently, okay, that guy remembered it differently. If that guy's saying, hey, I learned it from Muhammad this way, and Umar, we'll find out. You drag him in front of Muhammad. You want Muhammad to say, what? This guy's lying. He knows I didn't recite it like that. Instead, Muhammad knows he taught the guy like that. And so he has to say, oh yeah, Allah revealed it in these different ways. So I would regard that as completely absurd, absolutely ad hoc. But nothing that John is saying here depends on that, right? It's just you have the different readings. You have the different readings. Even if you want to say all of them are revealed by Allah, that's fine as far as this argument goes. What matters is you end up with different readings in different versions of the Quran, and then you have to go in one of two directions. Either each one of these different readings is part of the Quran, and you don't have the whole Quran unless you were able to put together all the readings, which you don't have anymore because a bunch of them were destroyed by Uthman, or there are just many different Qurans because they're distinctions and therefore they're not identical.
Yeah. So I have like a chart or like a kind of illustration of this, but I was going over with Thin and I think I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it as well. But I was curious, like the different philosophical kind of takes you could have on this, like this. What does this is mean here? So, but for Muhammad Hijab, these are the two things, right? This is either you have multiple Qurans or you have incomplete. What's the other? Because Libiano was saying type token. So what would that mean in this for this answering this question?
The type token distinction is not going to work. So the way to understand this is, if you're familiar with philosophy, you can kind of understand this in terms of like universals and particulars. And if that language is not familiar, then we can just talk about type token. So a type is going to be a general category of a thing, but this is going to be like an abstract allusion to it. And a token is going to be a particular instance of that thing. So for example, human is a type, right? But then like we have Jai, David, Than. Each of us are tokens of the type human. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep.
And so if you're going to do type token distinction for this, well, to me, it doesn't really make any sense at all, because what you're trying to do is turn the uncreated speech of Allah into a category of a thing that can take up multiple particular instances. But the problem there is going to be each instance of the Quran, which is the modes, they're going to be distinct. And I would argue there's contradictions between the modes, depending on how you want to cash some things out, right? And so I don't think there's actually a coherent way to cash this out in terms of types and tokens. I think what's going to end up happening is there's going to be 7 types, and that's going to violate Tawheed.
Ooh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and we're going to kind of have to have Muslims sort of explain themselves a little more. So like
the Islamic dilemma are going to have different camps. They're going to have different
you're going to have to explain yourselves a little more so we can see what kind of trouble you're in. Yeah.
There are contradictory versions. There are some sects of Christianity that have canons, that have Bibles in their canon or books in their canon that are not in the other canon. For example,
interesting. So when Abdullah ibn Masud in his canon had 111 chapters, and Ubay ibn Ka'b in his canon had 116 chapters, and the Quran that you guys have today has 114 chapters. And that's the first generation of Muslims couldn't even figure out which chapters went into the Quran.
All the 66 books of the Protestants, the 72 books of the Ethiopian Orthodox. You have different books in canon. Okay.
Different. Okay. He's wrong on that. He's wrong on that. He's supposedly, one of his 6 degrees is supposedly a master's in theology or something from Oxford. And when you pay attention to the specifics, like he just said, the canon for the Ethiopian Orthodox incorrectly, it's not 72, it's 81. So you'll notice that the very specifics that he brings up are usually wrong. And that's not to say like he can't be forgetful or something, but it just seems like every single time he is specific on something that he supposedly has expertise on, that it's wrong. It kind of like red flags. So he does this with, like I said, you're going to hear him say that the canon of the New Testament is 22 books according to Mohammed Hijab. You're going to hear him say that, not 27 books, but 22. But so the specifics he's always wrong on in most generally speaking.
Well, to be fair, he's drunk or high out of his mind, so you can't blame him too much. Right.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
You cannot compare what's going on in the Quran, where you have prophetic endorsement and approval at every recitational level, versus verses are missing, verses are omitted, verses are interpolated, verses are fabricated, there's corruption, there's all these things going on, there's book here, there's not a book there, this canon has 66 books, this canon has 72 books, Athanasius came in the 3rd century and decided there's 22 books.
You're making a lot of claims.
These two things, but these two things are not the same. And if you pretend that they are, you're undermining scholarship, because scholars, in fact,
no, I can give you a symmetry breaker really simply.
Don't believe in that.
I can give you a symmetry breaker. So your symmetry breaker between the Quran and the Bible is that there is no point, there is no doctrine in which we have to hold to perfect preservation in the sense of like a dot for dot, letter for letter.
Yeah,
we can hold a preservation of meaning, we can hold inspiration, but there is no doctrine that holds to a perfect preservation.
Yeah, and a huge difference here. You can walk into any Christian bookstore and get books on textual criticism and comparing manuscripts and stuff like that. Most Bibles that you get, unless it's like a really cheap $4 version or something like this, almost any Bible that you buy will have footnotes. It'll tell you if there's a textual variant. It'll tell you what manuscripts the textual variant is in, right? In Islam, they pretend that they don't have the textual variants and stuff. Why? Because they want people to be deceived into thinking there's only one, and it's just sad, man, just sad. So the issue is Christians and Christian scholars are honest, and Christian scholars are honest when they tell Christians about their manuscripts. Muslim scholars, they lie to the people and try to cover it up, and so John's pointing out here, there's nothing in Christianity that says you can't have textual variants, or you can't have human beings trying to wrestle with different issues or different readings or something like that. That doesn't affect us. Whereas it affects you because you guys are saying something very, very different. And what he ultimately wants to get to is you're not understanding the argument here and how this causes a serious problem for you, which we call the Quranic dilemma. What are you saying, Dan?
There's another avenue of this in retrospect that I think I just noticed, which is I think he's doing the thing that most Dawah guys do, which is they're importing Islamic things into the discussion of the Bible, because we don't believe that the Bible is in some way, shape, or form, the uncreated speech of Allah, right? The Muslims in some capacity do think this, that like they have to in some capacity, whatever they're going to say here. And so for them, this is a really big deal, but then this is only a big deal for Christianity if you're going to take the Bible to be some form of the uncreated speech of Allah, but that's not what we believe, right? And so we can sufficiently just have an agnostic position even on the canon and say what we have is sufficient for a life of submission to the one true God, without shirk issues, without tawheed issues, without anything, right? But internal to the structure of Islam, they need some of these things to be a big deal. Like these are a big deal because of their commitments that they have, but we make such more modest claims that it's not a problem for us. I don't know if that makes sense from a bird's eye view, but
No, it totally does. It's like even when they oh, if Jesus is God, how could he pray? Okay, what did you just import into your criticism? A Unitarian view of God. Yeah. If I was a Unitarian, that would be an issue, right? I'm not. I'm a Trinitarian, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and the Son becomes incarnate. So the Son becomes incarnate. Can he communicate with the Father? Yeah. You could say it's false. You could say that's false, but you can't say it makes no sense for Jesus to speak to the Father. You just can't say that unless you're importing your view. Or when they say, look what Lot did in Genesis. Oh my goodness, how can you ascribe that to a prophet? Lot's not a prophet. Lot's not a prophet according to the Bible. And we acknowledge that prophets do messed up things. So it wouldn't be an issue for us unless you import your Islamic view of things and then saddle us with that stuff. And so, that's what they're doing in discussions like this. And it's just, I mean, if we did agree with you, Hijab, and we saw this as some sort of issue, then, we just take a page out of your book and just lie about everything and say everything goes back to Jesus.
But I want to say when Muslims hear this, they obviously nuances often lost on them, and this is not a concession to the Muslims that are listening. That like when you say that our view of preservation is different, and they're specifically talking about the New Testament. So just to be perfectly clear on that, you have a number of New Testament scholars, like Daniel Wallace, not the least of them, who say that, for example, if you have the Gospel according to John, that it's not that we don't have the wording of everything that John originally was inspired to write. It's that we have the analogy he uses like a jigsaw puzzle. It's like, say, the 100-piece puzzle, and let's say we have like 110 pieces. So how a lot of them say it will be like, it's either in like the text or it's in the apparatus. So it's not like, okay, the one like, I talked about Mark 1:41 earlier about the variant there about like Jesus having was he angry or was he being compassionate? Scholars like that are not thinking that there's a third option there, like, oh, John, maybe he wrote like something else. We don't have that original wording. So this is not a concession to say that we don't have the original wordings of the New Testament or something like that. You have a lot of, maybe you have some scholars who might argue that we don't have the original wording, but you have a lot of conservative scholars who will argue that, yes, we actually do. Like I mentioned, Daniel Wallace, I think F.F. Bruce as well.
It's called Tenacity.
Tenacity, yeah. David Allen Black as well. A number of scholars who say that we actually do have that original wording somewhere in our manuscript tradition, our rich manuscript tradition. So that's not so. Just for the Muslims listening, they're not. This is not like a. He's not conceding to that point and saying, oh, we don't have what God inspired the authors of the New Testament to write or something like that. He's not saying that. He's saying that within our manuscript tradition, at least I think this is what he's saying, is that we have variants and we have to kind of work these out with like what the original probably said, but it's not that we don't have the original wording somewhere in that kind of like pile of manuscripts. Yeah. Whereas in other words, Muslims, they just lie about lie about the fact
and then burn everything to cover it
up.
Right?
Exactly.
It's totally different. Yeah. So guys, here's the idea. What Jai's talking about is called tenacity, meaning the original reading is preserved in the text, right? If eventually someone copying gets a word differently or something like that, well, guess what? You still have the original reading in the manuscript tradition. Now you just have an additional, you've got a variant. You've got a variant reading. Well, guess what? That's what textual criticism does. It takes all the manuscripts, and we got almost 6,000 of them. It takes all the manuscripts and it lines them up. It dates them and stuff like that. And it says, and it says, okay, what's the original reading? And as Jai was pointing out, vast majority of textual variants, they're either not meaningful or not viable. It either doesn't change the meaning. It'd be like spelling something differently, but it's the same word, or it's just something that's late, and it doesn't go back to the original. And it's a tiny fraction of all the textual variants that is both meaningful and viable. Meaning it could be the original read. We can't quite tell, and it actually changes the meaning somehow. But when we say changing the meaning, These are very. There's nothing that affects an important Christian doctrine. It's not like that. It's not like you've got a variant where Jesus isn't the Son of God, or a variant where he doesn't die on the cross or doesn't rise from the dead. That's not what we're talking about here. Very, very. It's slight differences in meanings and so on.
Yeah. I appreciate that qualification, Jai. I oftentimes forget that Muslims are going to take things out of context.
Yeah, how Muslims hear things, yeah.
By the way, David, Mike said check your email. He sent you something that he wants you to play on the stream.
All right. And
we love to do that.
Yeah, so, and again, the takeaway there is Christians, we understand that human beings copying entire books, you're going to end up with textual variants. That's a fact. Pick any book from the ancient world that was copied by hands, you get textual variants. You have textual variants with the Bible, you have textual variants with the Quran. Difference is, again, you go to any Christian bookstore, find books on textual criticism. Open up almost any Bible that you would buy, it will give you the information about variants in footnotes at the bottom. In Islam, what happens when they ended up with a bunch of variants? Burn them all and cover it up and issue a standardized version. That didn't work, and so they still ended up with a bunch of different Qurans. Oh, let's just say that Allah revealed all of those in all of those different ways, even if there are contradictions and stuff in it. In Islam, it's cover up the evidence and lie. In Christianity, we're just honest with the evidence. Very, very weird how we go in completely different directions with this stuff.
And the textual critics will actually point out that... the textual critics will also point out, mind you, that because we have variants in the manuscript traditions, it's actually what allows us to make sure that what we have is actually truly faithful to the original text, because we know what it looks like when a scribe tries to make a change or changes a word or anything like that. We know what it looks like, so we know how to test for those things and make sure that we know what the originals looked like. So like in a weird way, in a counterintuitive way, the manuscript discrepancies that we have actually help us know that we have a preserved meaning of the Bible.
Exactly.
A point that Dan Wallace makes. He says, yes, you have hundreds of thousands of textual variants, but that's because you have a ton of manuscripts, right? You could be like, let's just burn all the manuscripts except one. Yeah. Okay, then you'd have no textual variants. Is that better? Is that better to do that? No, you've just burned all the evidence, right? The reason we have so many textual variants is because we have so many manuscripts, and the more manuscripts, in other words, if you just had 2 manuscripts, you'd have some textual variants. If you have thousands of manuscripts all written by hand by people, you're going to have so we've got almost 6,000. Imagine, archaeologists found 100,000 more manuscripts. Guess what? You're going to have way more textual variants because of the manuscripts, but you're also going to have way more evidence to go on to compare them. And so the more manuscripts you have, the better, which is why we don't burn them and pretend they don't exist.
By the way, one of the variants that I like to illustrate to bring up in conversation with Muslims is there's a variant in chapter 8 verse. It's a manuscript variant. We're not talking about the canonical variants here, which we normally are talking about when we're talking about the Quran. But in chapter 8 verse 30, there's a variant there in the manuscripts that actually the vowel pointing makes it so it's addressing Muhammad as a female. So so it would be like it would be talking to Muhammad as if he were female, but we know that that's a textual variant because other verses are talking about him and they're addressing him as he's masculine. But this is the point, that you have scribes who make errors. So we have within like the options for this verse, if we just go by the manuscripts. By the way, Muslims do not value manuscripts at all. They don't care about manuscripts at all. You would think that
they want the comforting. They prefer the comforting lie to the difficult truth that requires some work.
Exactly. Like, for example, like when they created the 1924 edition of the Quran, the Hafs edition, they didn't consult manuscripts at all. What they did was they consulted what are called qira'at manuals, like reading manuals from like Adani and things like that. Like Hafs said it like this, Hafs said it like this, Hafs said it like that. But they weren't consulting manuscripts of Hafs. Well, largely because there's no early manuscript. I think I was listening to one scholar say the earliest manuscript he saw of Hafs, which by the way not complete, was like in the 17th century or something like that. And how you can do that is if there's like specific readings to a particular like traditions, then you can say, okay, if it's reading it like this, you can kind of identify it's this reading, kind of like, the analogy would be like Byzantine manuscripts in Christianity or Alexandrian, etc. So you can identify certain manuscripts based on like how they're worded. And he's saying that the earliest one he could find is from the 17th century. And so that means that even if they wanted to find manuscripts of Hafs from like early on, they wouldn't be able to find them. They don't have those. So what it is, they relied on manuals of different readings of the Quran. But if you were to create a Quran based on the manuscripts alone, this would be in the apparatus, which is that if when you come to chapter 8, verse 30, there's a variant reading that addresses Muhammad as a female here. This is how it is. So then you have to do textual criticism. Was Muhammad addressed as a female or not? This would be a textual critical question. And so this is an issue that, like David said, every book has to deal with. Maybe except for Green Eggs and Ham or Dr. Seuss's books or something like that. Recent.
It'd have to be much more recent. More recent.
Yeah.
All right.
Because the idea is that the scripture, the Bible, it is just recorded history. It's parables, it's poetry, it's a number of these different categories. And so your symmetry breaker is going to be there.
Let me ask you.
I want to address some of the other stuff you said
here.
But you just made a point. I just want to ask you about something that you said, right? So on the point that you said there's no doctrine in Christianity about a preserved Bible. My question to you is this then. My question is, if God created the heavens and the earth, which we both believe, right? We believe God created the heavens and the earth, the sun and the moon, everything around us. He's all knowing, he's all wise. Does it make sense if he's going to reveal a book to humankind for guidance, that such book should A, be preserved, or B, be corrupted? Does it make sense for God, if he's revealing a book for all of humankind, to allow that book, which is meant for the guidance, the salvific guidance of all humans, for such a book to be corrupted? Does that make sense to you?
But
Well, like, does he not realize that he's destroying the Islam right now?
Yeah. Are you guys thinking Islamic dilemma right now? Is that what you guys are thinking?
No, I wasn't even thinking. I thought of that cut several times around the way.
Yeah, his own position, correct. Yeah, but what went to my mind right away was chapter 3, verses 3 and 4 in the Quran that says that the Torah and the Injil are for all mankind. And so it's like he's like destroying Islam, but like you said, actually this applies to his own position as well.
According to you, preservation.
Does it make sense? Yes or no? Don't change it.
No. I'm saying the example that you're giving, according to you.
Forget about according to me. I'm asking a question. Yes, no question. Not according to me. Answer the question. Does it make sense or not?
It's not just a yes or no, because I'm.
Yes, it is yes or no. I can assure you.
Do you know what I mean when I say preservation? Because you're asking me a question about preservation.
Okay, so
you have to know how I'm using the term preservation. Yes.
This is the issue that we brought up a little before about Muslims incorporating their own meanings into terms, right? Yep. Guess what? We believe the Bible has been preserved, right? If you mean dot by dot, letter by letter, to where there's never a textual variant, or where you have to say every textual variant goes back to Jesus or the original authors or something like that, no, we don't. When Hijab is saying preserved, he means it like that. And so you wouldn't, as a Christian, you wouldn't agree to that definition, whereas you would agree that it's preserved and it would make sense for God to preserve his word. So all John is saying is we need to clarify what the heck we're talking about here, because we're using words differently. And Hijab, no, yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. Don't clarify anything. Never clarify things. That's bad.
If I'm to answer your question, you have to know how I'm using the term preservation.
And you can answer the question. Go ahead.
Okay, so preservation, if we're using it in the same sense, where there can be distinction in semantics, distinctions in meanings, that is going to be just analogous with the Quran, and also you're even allowing for qira'at contradictions in different translations. For example, like in 10:16,
you're moving from pillar to post.
No. I'm not moving anywhere. I'm saying
you're actually from the question. I just asked you one question. Now you're saying qira'at. We've already dealt with the qira'at. We've already dealt with it. You're now moving to qira'at.
No, you haven't. He's pointing out that you have contradictions in different qira'at. He's pointing out you have contradictions, and then notice Hijab just tried to derail that. He won't let him explain the contradiction. No, we've already dealt with that. We've already dealt with that.
Contradictions.
No.
I mean, this is
No.
the question of mine.
Because did you bring up contradictions? Did you bring up contradictions about the Bible?
No, hold on. You're moving on to. Why are you moving from pillar to post?
Did you bring up contradictions about the Bible? Did you say that there are contradictions in the Bible?
Why are you moving from pillar to post?
Did
Why
you
can't we
agree
just
that there
go from one point to another?
Did you make the claim there are contradictions in the Bible?
Yeah, I said there's contradictory versions of the Bible, contradictory versions, right?
Okay, so
yeah, and I also,
versions.
so for example,
so the symmetry in terms of preservation is I'm going to
fallacy.
say of the Qur'an.
Two kooky fallacy.
That is not typical.
If the Islam is false, if Islam is false and the Quran is wrong, it doesn't make Christianity true. Just understand that. I'm asking you about the Bible. It doesn't matter what the Quran says. The Quran being wrong won't save your Bible.
Isn't this crazy? I mean, he came and he wants a job to explain like how he can believe in one Quran when he has all these different Qurans and stuff. And Hijab starts explaining the parts and stuff, but he really hasn't gotten to the full point or the implications of what he says. So then Hijab diverts to the Bible, and now John's trying to clarify and then use an example from the Quran to go back to what he was talking about. No, it's too quoque. Dude, you brought up the Bible just to divert. Anyway.
By the way, Thane has a really interesting. I was talking to Thane about this, and he has a really interesting kind of take on this. So, Thane, is it the case that if you were to disprove Islam, that it would prove Christianity, or maybe you would reword it and say it makes it more possible, or what's the word you would say?
Yeah, David, since you're a fellow nerd, you'll appreciate this, I guess, because Jai and I were talking privately about this. Because Hijab says, well, disproving Islam doesn't prove Christianity. And if we're using the word proof there to mean like 100%, like, it doesn't net prove with 100% certainty Christianity. But what it does do is if we have, let's just say, the three major Abrahamic religions on the table for like rival hypotheses, and that's it. And let's just say, for sake of example, you think Islam is probable, like 60% probable or something like that. If you eliminate Islam off of the table, then necessarily the probability of Christianity raises it because it's going to contain more of the probability space. So his Hijab is just wrong. This is the point that I was pointing out to Jai.
That is correct. That is correct. In other words, guys, let's suppose you have 10 options of what's true, and you believe that number one is true, and you knock. By refutation, you knock number 10 off. Well, that's irrelevant to what? No, it's not, because that was one of the options. It's just not. We just knocked that one out.
Yeah.
So let's see.
How did we
doesn't
start
mean your
talking?
Bible is right. Just to let you know that as a fact. So you have to deal with your Bible before you jump, because that's the only thing you can do. I'm asking you the question: does it make sense for God,
tell me that I'm doing the
all-knowing, all-wise God? Does it make sense for him if he's going to reveal a revelation for all of humankind to follow? That such a revelation should be preserved, or is it unpreserved? Which one makes more sense?
Yeah, preserved, but under the definition of preservation that I'm utilizing, to where there can be differences in semantics.
So there can be omission.
I'm sorry?
So there can be whole books missing. So for 300 years of Christianity, let me ask you this: for 300 years of Christianity,
I answered your question. I said in that sense of preservation.
Like 6
300
modes.
years of Christianity, 300 years. Not one council was done on what is the New Testament. There is not one council that determined this is the New Testament, 22 books. It was Athanasius that determined that in the 4th century. Okay, I don't need...
Athanasius did not determine that.
Yes, he did.
That's a false claim. No. Did Athanasius bring it
check
to
it
a
out.
body?
I mean, you can check it out in your own time.
Google it.
If you ask, what's the council that took...
do you guys know? There's only a couple minutes left. Do you know if they ever actually get back to the point, or do we
no?
It's a continual crash out from here.
Okay, let's just fast forward to the end.
They have this guy coming in now, and he's like, "We saw your morphology changing. We saw your physiology changing. Your color changed."
Let's see it. Bible is their kryptonite. Bible is their kryptonite.
we got this guy's analysis right now. He's like, your morphology changed, your physiology changed, your color changed.
Let's see. Yeah, here we have Subhor, who is trying to impress the Pakistanis.
I'm censored from speaking about the Bible. I'm not allowed to speak
No,
about
no,
the
no.
Bible.
Why did you accuse me of a
So, John,
okay?
John, I just want to speak to you for a second. I've been sitting here watching
Can I ask
you
this
debate.
question? I was
I can see the change in your physiology, in your morphology, in your pale color as soon as he brought up the Bible. Why is it that as soon as we talk about the Quran, we are confident, we are zealous, we are energetic, and you change color live as soon as you mention the Bible? What's going on there?
Yeah, he's running. It's call in with Mohammed Hijab. You call in. You want to run your argument. Hijab switches from Quran to Bible just to randomly go after the Bible, and not because he wants anything explained about the Bible. He just wanted to divert the discussion, right? Because he's getting into some serious problems that are giving Hijab flashbacks to the infamous holes in the narrative interview, where there is no way to make sense of this. There just isn't. Like Yasser Qadhi, we can't. Our scholars cannot make sense of this in a way that that would be satisfying to critics at all, right? That we can't make sense of this, and we know. And he even says we know the critics are right because they're quoting our sources to show where we're wrong. And Hijab is having flashbacks of that. I'm sure he's getting tons of messages. Dude, you're saying that we only have part of the Quran. What is wrong with you? And so he diverts to the Bible, and then John tries to bring it back, and then your physiology is changing. Oh my goodness!
What is actually going on right now, even with your demeanor, even with the fact that you're trying to overspeak me, is that you do not want to talk about the Bible. You want to talk about these small little nuances about Islam. You've got this qira'at, you've got this, you've got that. When it comes to the Bible, you just admitted, although it was painful for you to do so, that there was no agreement upon what is the Bible until many centuries later. And then you have the audacity to turn up here and to try and bring up nuanced points about Islam, which are beyond your pay grade, beyond your comprehension.
They're not beyond my pay grade.
No longer are going to be changing colors live. Goodbye. We're going to find someone else to talk to. All right.
Yeah,
so
we're going to go
to
he ran from Libiano, though. He ran from Libiano. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. See that, guys? What you just saw there was John running from Libiano. So you just saw that there. John went ahead and posted it. Hijab took it down from his own channel and gave John a copyright strike for posting that on his channel. That's but John is the one who's running, and he's the one who's in panic mode, and he's the one whose physiology is changing and stuff like that. It's amazing. They can do everything. Run. They can do all. They can do the 5 Ds of dodgeball: dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge, and then say, "See, this is what you're doing." Why? They know their followers are actually that stupid to say, "Oh my goodness, this is what he's doing."
By the way, that's kind of like a funny example how Muslims will just like, well, not just Muslims, it's not unique to Muslims, but sometimes people, when they're trying to like impress, they use like words incorrectly. Like, your morphology changed. Like morphology refers like, your bone structure and like your skeletal system and like your makeup and like your shapes but how do you see his morphology changing during a live stream? What does that even mean? So they just use words and they think that they're like impressing, like you said. Well, you didn't say this, but I think what you meant is like the audience of like the product of 40 generations of
really stupid audience, and they know it, and they constantly pander to that audience, and they know it. They know the audience isn't following anything of what's going on. Here we have God Logic, who's apparently over there talking trash about me because a bunch of people sent me messages saying he's talking trash about you. Oh, well.
He's posting smiley faces.
Let's jump through these real quick, and then we'll do the kind of takeaway as far as the Than can give us the. You already talked about it earlier, but the logical problem of the Trinity for Muslims who don't take it in the direction Hijab is going, and then we'll have the Quran dilemma for people who
you trained my ears to don't take it in my ears.
I know. Weird times. That's what happens when you read the Muslim sources. Hi guys, I rarely get to join live, but since I was able to better make sure to give my jizya, keep up the great work, and bless you all. Thank you. God bless you all. Would you do a video outlining inheritance in Islam with an example of how a growing tech business would be inherited? In my opinion, wealth by Islamic law only lasts one family member's lifetime. I don't think I'll make one on that, but someone might be interested. Jack Daniels and Jim Beam are Hijab's real friends. Yep. Just like the song, I Drink Alone. Momo Handjob is going to be so disappointed when he learns it's not the chronic dilemma. because they did drugs. Quranic dilemma sounds like chronic dilemma. Other people are pointing this out. That's fine. I'm fine with chronic dilemma. Mohammed Hijab has oral fixation just like his prophet. You're saying that's why he keeps shoving food in his face. John also went to imams and sheikhs about asking about personal money, and they said what Duck Lips did was haram. Well, he doesn't care, guys. That's the idea of dawah. If you can become somewhat popular on YouTube, you don't have to listen to your sheikhs or scholars anymore. You can just make it up as you go along. Mojab, pasta, turns into Homer Simpson. Pasta, chasing painkillers with gin and tea could be a problem. Yeah, it's not good to do live streams like that. Hammered hijab, 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 equals the Quran. One Quran. David Segara, thanks for translating.
Wait, that actually is what they're saying. That is what they're saying. Yeah,
they are. It equals one Quran. Matter of fact, we need to do that, right?
Yeah, we could do the 7-in-1 shampoo. Like, they're going to do that.
They add up to 1, and we could start making fun of them because that's their main argument. So, given what Hijab just said, it's 1. So, like Haas plus Warsh plus blah 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 blah, add up to 1 Quran. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Good to know. Good to know. Good to know. Thanks, David Segara. Thanks for translating Than for us. IP needs to get some lessons. Great content. Anything you need in Spanish, guys. Catching up, but when they bring up the various canons, can Christians take that to mean that they accept all the books of the Old Testament? The canon differences are 0 in the New Testament and none involve the Torah.
That was kind of funny because he was talking about canons, which, as is being pointed out here, that only refers to differences between Old Testament. But he was talking about the New Testament canon being 27 books. He said 22 books, actually. But you almost got the impression that the canon difference was on the New Testament that he was referring to, which is not the case, like this person's pointing out here.
Than, you don't need to publish your book anymore. Redeemed Zoomer published a vid on the problem of evil. So you're good to go, Than.
Oh, man. Okay.
You're good to go. About suckling passage, by their reasoning, does that make them cow and goat sucklers? Maybe. 3 Muslims in a room. Ooh, the jokes are endless. Where's the goats? One would probably say. Yeah, if they're quoting it, if they're reciting different ones. Warner, I must debate Than. Uh-oh. Stay away from the Warner. I have close family friends that are... because they're calling you gay. No, Warner, now I have to debate him. I have... close family friends that are Muslim. I always wanted to talk to them about Jesus and the falsity of Islam. Would the Islamic dilemma be the best starting point? Yes. Yep. Learn the Islamic dilemma. Off topic, Daily Wood for your based son who listens to bass Rusky music. I highly recommend Kino if he already knows the band. Even more bass. Yes, my son does listen to weird Russian war ballads and stuff. John ran so fast that he made Libiano disappear.
Yeah.
We meet again, Than. Busy man. Nothing bubble is the best argument ever, and this is totally not sarcasm. Bark. Alhamdulillah, the puppies have now invaded David's stream. Yeah. And did Than tell you hi for me, Dr. Wood? No, he obviously doesn't care.
Oh, there's a guy in our Discord server that asked me to say hi to you. His name is S-tier retard. Yeah, that's his Discord name.
Oh, nice. S-tier, that's good. Avery just zooted your video review skills. Yeah, people saying he's over there talking trash about my video review skills. Crazy. And what is the strongest case Salafi Muslims use to say Aisha was pubescent? What's the strongest case against that? The strongest case you have for it, the strongest thing you can actually say is that Muhammad waited for something. He waited from when she was 6 to when she was 9. He was waiting for something, and then they'll just say, oh, yeah, he was waiting for puberty, when not required and no evidence for that. And you have multiple other things that make far more sense. So, but that I'd say that's the best they got. They don't have anything else. All right, Jai. Oh, no, Than, want to recap. If hijab didn't go in the parts direction, what would the issue be for Islam?
So we already kind of covered if he would have gone the type token distinction, what the problem would have been there. The other options on the table would have been saying that the modes are aspects of the one Quran. I think there's going to be problems there, but that would open up my model of the Trinity if he's going to be happy with that. Otherwise, they can go the relative identity route, the route that a lot of other Christian apologists will like to go with the logical problem of the Trinity. And that could work, but they don't want to do that because that would open up another pathway for solving the logical problem of the Trinity. So,
pretty tough for them.
All right, Jai. That brings us to the Quranic dilemma.
Yes. So at least how Mohammed Hijab was articulating it in this discussion here, the two views that we saw where you either have the problem of multiple Qurans or an incomplete Quran, because this falls back to if the whole Quran is defined as all 7 ahruf. Well, it sounds nice. You have a full Quran there, but you don't, because this Islamic sources, Islamic scholars tell us that you don't have all 7 ahruf. Therefore, you don't have a whole Quran. So, big problem for Muslims. You still have holes in the narratives, holes in the standard narrative and substandard narratives and all other narratives you want to create. There's holes, big problems. Repent of Islam, come to Jesus. And yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, IP wants us to play some video. He messaged me about.
Which one? He sent me like 50 videos today.
Oh really?
He said he just emailed you a song.
A song?
He wants me to play a song. Okay,
you said video. Yeah.
He sent it to me. It's called Hijab MP3. Hijab.mp3.
Hang on.
It's a song. He said.
I gotta transfer it over. So the hijab one. All right, I will transfer that over real quick, and I'll just add this. Okay, so that was quick. It's already transferred. Okay, so here's the issue, guys. Here's the issue. Can any Muslim say that he has memorized the entire Quran?
Not according to Hijab?
Not according to Hijab. You cannot say that you've memorized the entire Quran. Because one, if you just memorized a version of it like Hafs, you haven't memorized the different Qira'at, right? You haven't memorized all the others. But guess what? Even if you memorized all 10 canonical Qira'at or whatever number you want to assign, if you memorized all of them, you still don't have all the different ahruf because Uthman burned a bunch of them. And so it's just amazing because Muhammad's companion Ibn Umar said this. Muhammad's companion Ibn Umar said, he was talking to people who had bragged about memorizing the entire Quran. He rebuked them and said, how can you say you've memorized the entire Quran when so much of it has been lost? You should rather say, I've learned what remains of it. And he's just talking about like chapters coming up missing and stuff like that because the people who had them memorized died in battle. He's talking about things like that. But according to Mohammed Hijab, that goes for everyone now. That goes for everyone now. No Muslim should ever say, I've memorized the entire Quran. Or when they say, but so many Muslims have memorized the Quran that if you destroyed it, we could reproduce it. No, you could reproduce what remains of it, but you can't reproduce the entire Quran because you don't have the entire Quran to memorize. That's according to Mohammed Hijab. Or you can say, we've got a bunch of different Qurans and it's not just one. Take your pick. That's the Quranic dilemma. Now this is an MP3.
It's an AI song, by the way, so you can kind of.
This is an MP3. How do I even play in? He gives me these tasks to do, and I don't even know how to do it. I know how to pull up a video. Yeah,
I don't.
IP. I don't even know how to play a song on here. Let me see. Hang on. Let me. Oh, here we go. Oh, I think I can do it here. All right.
We got it, guys. We got it.
It says. Let's see.
All right, we're gonna jam out, I guess.
Hijab Dawa disaster. Hijab Dawa disaster.
Oh yeah, Hijab Dawa disaster.
Mohammed Hijab, Dawa so weak. Screams at crowds but runs when experts speak. Beard and bluster, big tough guy act. One real question and he's gone, that's a fact. Challenges everyone, then dodges the fight. If he's Islam's best, the Ummah's in plight. Bankrupt, lost in court. Sued Murray and got destroyed, what a sport. Judge called him liar, now he's broke as a joke. Pinnacle of faith, man, it's
Nice.
That's a banger. Now we just need the video to go with that. We just need the video with a bunch of hijab. Awesome times, awesome times. Had a group of Muslims reject that the root makar means deceiver. I thought that was already settled. Are they moving the definition around? Well, there's I mean, makar, like the root, means deception. That's in lexicons. What they would argue is that, you know, as it's used or as it's modified, it can mean, like, you know, schemer, and so, which is fine as long as you understand it's a type of scheming or planning or plotting that involves deception. But Ja, you know more about this than I do. What are your thoughts on that?
So when Muslim scholars talk about it, they actually use the example of, like, when we talk about Allah praying, they'll say, well, this word, when it's used for humans, it means praying, but when Allah's doing it, it means some. So it's like a unique thing to Allah. So when Allah does, he does makr, he does deception, it's like positive, but whatever else it's used in the Quran, it's something negative. So whenever something is used of Allah, even they use other words in the Quran as well that mean deception as well for Allah, that Allah deceives, but they'll just take it in a positive way because it's talking about Allah. So it's not that that's what the word means, but it's like, well, you know, we want to, you know, it's Allah, so you got to make it sound good.
And we have from Ida here, party time. Yes, that is. Hey, IP, you know what you should do? You know, to be cool? Take the song, just release the song as the song without the video, and have like a competition. Tell any of your fans they can make the video to go along with the song, and then we'll have like a little we'll have it as like a little contest. We'll all sit as judges, and someone can be the annoying British judge, and so, well, that was just crap. That was a crap video. And we can judge it, and then whoever's we like best, we can make the official version. That would be fun. That'd be some fun stuff.
I thought it was when I heard it was a song, I thought it was going, because, you know, Mohammed Hijab has been singing songs recently, so I thought someone actually put them together, like his Mrs. Jones song.
Oh yeah. I'm sure someone will. Yeah. All right, guys, we've been going a long time, and I'm going to be live again in 15 minutes with Anthony Rogers and Inspiring Philosophy, where in that video, that famous video where Hijab and Libiano called God Logic's wife a whore because they've both been completely destroyed by God Logic, and so that's just what they do. The second half of the video is Libiano offering his sort of best case for Islam and his best case against Christianity, and so we're going to watch it and see how good these two awesome cases are. So we're going to check that out.
I just want to say I'm not going to be there, but I just want to say, like, think about this, like, one of the most degrading things you could say about a woman, the way you're just so nasty and evil, lying about her in these ways, and her honor and things like that, and her reputation, and then you're like, oh, by the way, what are your best arguments for Islam? It's like, this is the same video. It's the same bit. Like, how do they think that these even make sense? Like, you're gonna.
Yeah, and by the way, that's the same. It wasn't just. Oh, when she's a whore, it's and Fan is gay, and this. They're going after everybody, and then okay, what? Now that we've settled all that, what's the best case for Islam and the best case against Christianity? And these guys got problems, but we're actually going to hear them out. And it was funny, Libiano earlier on, he posted, "Look, they're responding to me. You see, they're scared and they're doubting. That's causing doubts. That's why they're responding." It's like, if you got a case, we want to see it, and we're going to show everyone how bad it is, how terrible it is. That's how we roll.
Oh, that's with IP. So we got Than on this stream, and we got IP on the next stream. So nice. We got the whole team.
We got part of IP here, and part of IP in the other one.
Awesome times. All right, guys. Well, I'll see you all in about 15 minutes. Should be fun. Catch you soon.